Welcome, everyone. Board will reconvene back into open session. Item E, it's approximately 6:05. We'll go on to item F. This will be announcements of actions taken in closed session. At this time, nothing to report. Item G, comments from the public. The board will take any and all comments from the public related to an item on the agenda or any other item of district business that's not on the agenda. We've got a few comments here. We'll begin with the first speaker. I think it's Zoe Garcia. Is there Garcia? Ms. Garcia? That's okay. Thanks, sir.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Zoe García. Venimos en representación de los padres de Calexico de California para hacer una petición formal de un parent license aquí en las escuelas elementary school, ya que hay mucha desinformación de escuelas, padres, escuelas, falta ausentismos y ausencias de padres ausencia de padres en las juntas. Y estamos nosotros interesadas en hacer un parent license para poder hacer una comunicación entre una sociedad, más bien, entre nosotros los padres y escuelas. Y lo estamos haciendo petición formal, que nosotros también los manejemos, nosotros los padres, para poder llegar más a hacer, difundirlo más. Poder apoyar también a las escuelas, como los PTO, PTA, y aprobar las minutos tanto de escuelas, padres, y aquí lo que es board.
Okay. Gracias, señor.
Thank you to you.
In Coachella, we have parent liaisons in all the schools, and it does work. Just so you know, okay?
Thank you.
It's a great asset for the schools.
All right. We'll continue with the second comment. This would be Eva Lara.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the space. I'm here to support the recommendation to close Calexico High School, Calexico main campus during lunch hours. I've been working for the district for the last 3 years. I'm a clinical social worker, so my main job is to work with students that have high-risk behaviors. Prior to working with Calexico High School as a clinical social worker, I worked for 15 years for behavioral health. In total, I have I want to say, at least 15 years of experience in working with Calexico students, okay? So with that being said, I'm here to support the recommendation to close the Calexico High School main campus during lunch hours. The reason why I'm supporting this this recommendation is because I have firsthand experience in working with high-risk students. Okay, so I have that firsthand experience, and I know exactly that behaviors that the students go through, and the high-risk behaviors that they are exposed, and that they actually engage in during that time that they are out of school hours. It's not just the 45 minutes or so that is for the lunch period that is that they are endangered, but is after lunch, because a lot of the students that leave during lunch hours, they don't return back to school. So we have different issues related to our particular location because we live in a border town, okay? So we have those particular issues because of our neighboring city of Mexicali. Those dangerous behaviors include, but are not limited to, either drug use, engaging in selling drugs, smuggling drugs, other illicit activities, sexual activities that endanger the safety of our students. So not only that, we also have Calexico Unified School District Board policy, which is 5142, which says that the Board of Education recognizes the importance of providing a safe school environment that is conducive to learning and helps ensure student safety and the prevention of student injury. By closing our campus during lunch hours, we will be minimizing harm, okay? The superintendent or designee shall implement appropriate practices to minimize the risk of harm to students, included but not limited to practices related to school facilities and equipment. In this case, closing the campus during lunch hour. The outdoor environment, educational programs, and school-sponsored environment activities. Our staff shall also be responsible for proper supervision of students during school hours. So
Ms.
if
Lara,
students are...
So 3 minutes, if you would mind just closing
Okay.
it briefly. We'll
Okay.
move on.
So, in summary, again, I'm supporting the recommendation to close the Calexico main campus during lunch hours because this is we have to take into consideration our student safety. Our student safety always comes first, and safety supersedes everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Mr. Louis Wong.
Good evening, members of the school board. I'm here to oppose to the item K22. I'm asking you to table this item so we have better study, more information for you to make your decision. I have been selling with my Chinese food over there for at least 3 or 4 years. And we have a very good team over there to provide different kind of food. And we have also 11 ice cream truck, candy truck to sell chips and sodas, not me, our neighbors. And in the past, I was talking to one of the senior vendor over there. In the past 11 years, only have one case that they have a fight take place. And I want the school board to support the local business. Calexico is dying, all the business closing, and we desperately needed to do some business from whatever we can, get it from the school. And what I see, we have a very good setup right now. We have a person pick up all the trash, not only our trash, and also all the trash that inside. And I agree with the previous speaker say that safety is an issue, but I want the school board to look at it. Is it really the main reason that if the student get out in that period will make a difference? So thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. The next speaker, Melanie Gutierrez.
Good afternoon. My name is Melanie Gutierrez Tavernier, and I'm going into my senior year at Calexico High School. And I want to start off by thanking the school board for allowing me to come up here and express myself as both a student and a member of this community. I'd like to propose that the campus remain open. I am aware of the setback that took place at our school. However, I'm also aware that the students involved in this event were rightfully faced with the proper consequences. With all respect, we the students are finding it difficult to see justice in such castigation. In an event where roughly 1.6% of the student body was involved, the rest of the 98.6 are now facing consequences as well. Like Mr. Wong said, he mentioned the economy. So there's a lot of benefits to keeping the school open. Our school's campus has for many years served as a motivation every day for the students. We work hard daily, looking forward to 12:18 p.m., which is our lunchtime. We see it as a reward. Most of us in our school are there for 7 hours, if not more. And our only time to be ourselves and manage ourselves, we get 50 minutes to do that, to have a control in our routines. We need a sense of autonomy to further develop our independence and our responsibility. We also learn about what life is like outside of school for 50 minutes. We have real life lessons like how we're gonna stretch $5, or how we're gonna make our ends meet with our own money. We manage our own money in lunch. Aside from that, our open campus has served as a method of teaching us effective time management skills. We go out every day to take a breather from school and relax, knowing we have to come back soon, planning every minute it takes to walk back to ensure we are on time. I'd also like to say that I know no plan is perfect. However, we are greatly accustomed to our daily routines. And not to mention, the school is not exactly apt as it is to hold as many of us, even if there's 2 separate lunches. Calexico reaches highs in temperature all the way to 120 degrees, and it is imperative to our health that we have the proper shade and seating within our campus. Not only that, but there would also be the issue of the noise and how that would be a disruptance to classes in session. Either we, the ones who are outside, will have to be silenced, or the ones inside will have to work with the loudness. We want to continue feeling that we are on break, not as if we are in a library. If you should alter our campus, you should also consider how this will alter the mindset in many of our minds on the day of registration. Classes are not going to be the first preference. We're also going to be worried about lunch and what lunch we want to prefer, unless that would be decided for us as well. So that is all I had to say. We just want you to ask to take us as students into consideration and set yourselves in our shoes. After all, we are the majority of Calexico High School. We ask that you trust and forgive us of this punishment that we don't deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. Any other comments? Seeing none, we will continue. We'll move on to item H. This would be presentations. H1, Pastor Frank Sasueta, recognition.
Hello, trustees, and hello, community. So first of all, we are here to recognize and honor a very special community member. We owe this gentleman a great debt of gratitude, and I'd like to call Pastor Frank Sasueta. If he can please come up, let's give him a round of applause. And as Pastor Sasueta, Frank Sasueta is here, we're seeing the beautiful murals that we see here, and you know, it's incredible. They're absolutely amazing. If you have a chance to drive by Mains Elementary School, Rockwood, as you can see, Rockwood or Dual School as well, as it will be coming up. They're absolutely incredible. They're beautiful. Just a lot of sense of pride. Just want to share a little bit about Pastor Sasueta. He is the pastor for the last 3 years of Christ Community Church here in Calexico. He is a 1979 grad of Aurora High School. He grew up and currently lives in Calexico. He's a graduate of New Creations. He is a youth and adult ministry, and that is his passion. His heart, his calling, is for individuals with lesser means and shares the gospel with the community. He uses his gifts to be a blessing to the community or the Calexico community in the hopes that individuals reach out to him. And so I just want to publicly thank you, Pastor Frank Sasueta, for this incredible work that you're doing. We are just so grateful, so honored. And so we just like to thank you with a certificate. And if we can have the rest of the board please come up as well. And let's give Pastor Frank Sasueta another big round of applause. And I'd just like to add that Pastor Frank Sasueta, these are 3 of the schools that he's worked on. and I want to share that he charges nothing, absolutely nothing. We get him the material, that's all he requests, and he does all this for free. And so these are 3 schools that he's worked on, and he has let us know that he is happy to work on all the remaining schools that we have in Calexico to again have these beautiful murals. So thank you, Pastor Frank Sosueta.
Our church is going to be selling fireworks at the Walmart parking lot, so if you guys can help us out, and these funds go to bless the community as well.
Thank you.
All right, we'll continue with item H2. This would be our multiple tiered system of support, MTSS presentation.
Good afternoon. I have invited Jeanette Montaño from Imperial County Office of Education to provide this presentation with also some of my input, and so she'll begin.
Hello, trustees. My name is Jeanette Montaño. I'm the Senior Director from the Curriculum Department at ICOE, and I'm happy to share with you what we have going on with the Multi-Tiered Systems of Support, which is a new initiative. Do we have a clicker? A new initiative that started in California about 4 years ago. And as you hear about the multi-tiered system of support, you're going to hear different names. You might hear MTSS Framework, MTSS Process, you might hear the MTSS model, or in some cases, it's known as the SUMS initiative. But basically, it's the same thing. We're talking about creating multi-tiered systems of support for all students. So why is this happening in California, and why is it important? Why are we talking about it? The reason why we're talking about it is because California is really pushing strongly and moving not just in addressing students academically, but also looking at their social emotional needs and not necessarily pushing that to a psychologist or a counselor. That also lives with every individual that's part of the education system. That means that if you're working in the cafeteria, if you're teaching, if you're a counselor, whoever you are, whether you're the superintendent, a board member, everybody has a responsibility to address the needs of all students and the whole child. That means that we're looking at behavior. What does their behavior support system look like at every school site? If I move my child from mains to dual, will they get the same support? What tiered system do we have in place? It's not just focusing on the academics and passing the tests, but it's also looking at their heart and how they feel. At times when a child is facing trauma, any type of trauma, or even drama in their life, they come into sites and they struggle with being able to learn, and so the behavior becomes an issue. So what do we have in place to be able to address those needs prior to getting to the problem? So having a system that addresses the behavior, the academic, and the social emotional need of a child will stop the problem way beforehand. What's happening right now within the California system is that we're finding that a lot of junior high students and high school students are either being suspended a lot because of behavior or social emotional needs that are not being addressed starting in at the basic level of kinder and first grade. That's where the foundations are being placed, and we are teaching them everything that we can academically, but if we don't hit their heart and their mind, it's really hard to do that by the time they get to junior high and high school. So when you think about creating a multi-tiered system of support, always know that we're talking about 3 things: their social emotional, the behavior, and the academic support. Whereas for many years, over 30 years, every time that we talked about school sites, we only talked about academics and passing that test. Now we're talking about, well, how do students feel when they walk on your campus? How do they feel when they walk in your classroom? How do they feel when an adult approaches them? Do they feel safe? Do they feel loved? Do they feel that they belong? All of those questions are questions that we're asking. Now, we might have somebody say, well, there's no time for touchy-feeling. We have to make time for the touchy-feeling, because if we don't, we're not going to hit their heart and their mind, and we're not going to be able to address this new initiative. So just keep that in mind, that it involves every single adult within the education system. It's being proactive versus reactive, Mrs. Ramirez's words. She's right on. When you look at the tiered system of support, there are 3 tiers. In each one of those sections, okay? In the behavior, the social, emotional, and academics, we're looking at tier 1, which means what are we doing for all students in each one of those in each one of those categories? What are we doing in tier 2? That means some students might need extra help. So what are we doing for them, and how do we identify those students? And then a tier 3 intervention means that only a few students are getting tier 3. When we hear about tier 3 and tier 2 before, several years before, we used to think, well, a tier 3 is somebody that has an IEP. Well, not necessarily. The new initiative is basically saying it doesn't matter where your student is, everybody's starting at tier 1. And some students will get tier 2 intervention for a couple of weeks, but then they have the ability to go back to a tier 1. In some cases, we might have a student that academically needs tier 3 support. That means intensive support. So it's more than just the classroom. It might be something outside of the classroom during the school day, but all of these things are happening during the school day. So you might have a student getting tier 1 support in behavior. Everybody gets tier 1, but then that same student might be at a tier 2 academically and a tier 3 at a social emotional level. So what does that look like? And just hearing it sounds really complicated if we don't have a system that's addressing that need for all students. So just keep that in mind. It's basically matching the intervention to what the student needs and layering the support systems on top. So we can't just say, oh, we're only going to give them this, but have them skip that. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so this does take a lot of work, a lot of candid conversations, and really looking at the system that we have and that we are exposing students to. So a lot of our counselors have been through many of the multi-tiered systems of support trainings, and they are talking about multi-tiered system, multi-domain system in the way they address the needs of students. So our counselors are very well aware as to what this work looks like in their world. But what we're finding is that across California, many counselors, psychologists, and teachers that are teaching students that have IEPs or students with special needs, they all have a clear understanding of what the tiered system should look like. But then when we try to take that to the general ed world, there's a discrepancy because not everybody's speaking the same language. So our goal right now is that ICOE's goal is to help the state start these initiatives within the districts that are that applied for the MTSS work and that are working with us or partnering with us, and we're helping to establish at least the tier 1. Let's start, what does that mean? And if a student is going to a tier 2, what does that look like? So a counselor will be able to explain that. We need all teachers and all adults within the site to be able to talk about it too. So there is a video that explains basically everything that I just mentioned, but I need you to watch it. Yeah.
Hi there. Let's take a quick moment to talk about something you are probably already hearing about. MTSS. What is it, you ask? Well, MTSS stands for Multi-Tiered System of Support. I know, it's a mouthful. Let's break it down. California's Multi-Tiered System of Support is a framework designed to help districts and schools address each and every student's academic, behavioral, and social emotional needs. I know. You're thinking, sounds great. But what is this? How does any of this even work? Well, let me try to answer that. MTSS realigns numerous state, regional, county, district, school, community, and family resources to provide all students challenging and motivating coursework, along with the opportunity to learn in the most inclusive and equitable learning environments possible. As part of that, proven existing programs like positive behavioral intervention and supports, restorative practices, and response to intervention have been integrated into MTSS. In short, it's about taking all the best practices and resources built up over the years and streamlining them so that every student can benefit from all the tools at educators' fingertips. Let's break this down a little bit more. At its core, MTSS uses proven, evidence-based priorities and practices to provide universal support to all students. But we know some students behave and learn differently, and may require supplemental support in certain areas. Finally, a few students may need even more intensified support to meet their needs. Oh, come on. These levels of support are available to all students. For example, a student might be doing great academically, but need additional support in social emotional development, or vice versa. Or maybe they only need additional support with learning in math. The system is flexible to what each student requires, and educators will be constantly assessing where their pupils are in each key area. So, what kind of impact can a multi-tiered system of support have? Well, schools can use the MTSS framework to increase attendance, lower dropout and disciplinary rates, improve school climates, and boost academic performance. Because MTSS builds on the strengths of each school's staff and signature programs, it won't necessarily look the same at each school. But common features include collaboration, the use of data, differentiated instruction, and targeted interventions that kick in before a school or student is failing. MTSS is now being scaled up statewide, marking an important step in California's drive for continuous improvement. We hope you'll be a part of this movement, ensuring the success of all students. For more information, visit the website. And thanks for watching.
Okay, so on this slide, if you look at the design up there, it's basically showing you a visual of what the work has looked like within Calexico. So we started off by looking at our data, all the data within the school sites and within the district. They're doing a deep dive into the data, how many students are being suspended, how many students have received referrals, how are we addressing those behaviors, and we're looking at also, of course, the academics, and we're looking at what do we have at every school site for the social emotional needs, and how are we determining whether students need extra support. So we're having those conversations. Our job is simply to facilitate the conversation, but really the experts live here within your system. And then we're looking at all of the resources that are available within each site and within the district to see how can we best coordinate resources to address the needs of all students. And then based on all the resources that are available, and resources, we're talking staff, buildings, rooms, when can they, looking at the schedules to see if maybe they can be reshuffled to address the needs of students, and prioritizing those needs to better address them, whatever it is that needs to be targeted. And then designing a plan so that all teachers can have buy-in and all adults within the school site have a say and in addressing the needs of all students. And of course, you can't do anything without the teaming and the coaching. Not everybody is prepared or equipped to address the social emotional needs of students. So bringing those trainings to the Valley are crucial for all teachers, not just for the teachers within the classroom, but also support staff and anybody working within the school site. Because addressing the social emotional needs of any human being is a difficult task. Okay, so just we've met a couple of times, and we had 2 full trainings, actually 3. One for administrators, and then 2 full days for actual staff for every school site brought a team. And we continued that work through our differentiated assistance, which I will be talking about shortly. The one thing that this visual here really shows the fruit of our partnership that's happening within all sites. The county and the region, our job is to provide the technical support, so our job is easy. We bring the stuff and the resources. The point of intervention is at the district level. So it's the district that determines, okay, where are we going, how are we using our funds, and what exactly are we going to do, and start prioritizing. But the place of transformation is the actual school site. That's where our students are every day for 6 hours a day. So what's the better plan needs to happen there, because if we're going to transform our system, it needs to start there. And the purpose for our work is our students and our families. We want to do the best that we can to get better outcomes for them and to be able to address every student regardless of their background and regardless of where they come from. So when you look at this visual here, it basically shows how ICOE is your technical support. Our job is to help through the differentiated assistance process. We were able to have conversations looking at data and doing a deep dive and using all of the improvement science tools to be able to assess where we are. And that's reflected in your LCAP. And then we had our teams come and work with school sites that are under or identified as CSI, which is comprehensive support, and that's reflected on their SPSAs. And based on that, that should, you know, the goals that you have on your LCAP and your SPSAs should be merged and matching, which they are. And then these techniques and strategies are being implemented within your school sites and within the classrooms and transforming the lives of students. Now, we are barely at the beginning, and so the teaching and coaching partnership is important. Our work is barely starting, and so it'll continue for the next 2 years. And hopefully within 3 years, you'll start seeing changes in addressing the needs of the whole child. So when we talk about the framework, this is the framework. If you ever want to take the time to get a copy of this, it basically shows you the 5 domains under a multi-tiered system of support. So you have MTSS at the top, it's the strand at the top, and it talks about addressing the child academically, behaviorally, and the social emotional need of the child is addressed there. But notice that under the MTSS domain, you have 4 other columns showing 4 different domains. You have the administrative leadership, and you have integrated educational framework, the family and community engagement, and the inclusive policy structure and practice. And it's basically showing you 4 pillars that help hold the MTSS system in place. In other words, what this framework is showing is that if we don't have the 4 domains at the bottom in place working effectively, then our multi-tiered system of support plan will not work effectively. You'll have gaps in between. So the administrative leadership, under that you have 2 features, which is strong and engaged site leadership, and also have the strong and engaged support system for the actual teachers. So it's administrators and teachers working together. And then you have the integrated educational framework, is what type of structure do we have, and the culture, what does it look like at each site? Is it addressing the needs of our families and students in a positive manner? And what type of things do we have to help them feel included and that they feel that they're not disconnected from the site? And then how are we communicating and engaging with not just our parents, but outside stakeholders? Are there any stakeholders outside of in our community that can help support the needs of our students? And then the inclusive policy structure and practice, it's basically how we run business between the district office and the school sites. How do we communicate? What type of policies do we have? Are there any policies that are creating barriers for us to move forward? And it's that type of communication. So this is the framework that's being put out by California, and this is the framework that we're following. When we talk about multi-tiered systems of support, we're talking about implementing the 5 domains with the 11 features. So if you have any questions or anything like that, then this would be the one place that you would want to dive into and really read and look at.
And just to add, a lot of the initiatives that we have come because of the data. So for example, there's a lot of items on the LCAP that were added when it comes to addressing, for example, attendance. We looked at acquiring a community liaison that would oversee the chronic absenteeism, which is what we have on the dashboard. You also have seen that we wanted to add more psychologists so that they are able to be a part of that Tier 2 intervention that we need to offer our students. We have our in-house suspension. What used to be in-house suspension is now revamped. So what schools are doing is they're now becoming a Tier 2 intervention. When a student is in that classroom, they're actually going to be receiving intervention instead of just sitting and doing work. One thing that the teachers have shared, the area where there's a higher need is how do we address social emotional needs of students, and what does level 1 look like for all students, and what's a level 2, and so forth. So for our professional development in August, we're bringing a lot of partners. So behavioral health, SELPA, they're coming in and they're doing presentations on autism, trauma-informed practices, just so that we start offering more training through that venue to our staff.
There are many schools in California currently doing this that are being very successful. So many of them are in the Orange County area and some of them in San Diego. And then, of course, we have Calexico. So Calexico starting.
Part
but
of the grant, right?
yeah,
Right? So
yes,
is it the original,
yes.
So if there was an original grant to pilot this, I know we went to a training to see how we could get on that grant. And what they said is, because we needed more information, at that conference we attended, they said that, well, we don't know exactly what it looks like. We don't have a framework yet, but if you want to sign up for it, and we'll start doing some of the work. So some of these counties, I think it was about 3-4 years ago, they signed up and they did some of the base work. And so that's how they got started about 3 years ago.
So did I hear correctly, this is relatively new in education the last
It
few
is,
years.
it is.
Calexico's just getting started. I think I heard we'll begin seeing, will we begin seeing the plans, the activities, the data within their SPSAs now?
You should start seeing that.
Okay.
That is reflected in your LCAPs, in your current LCAP and your SPSAs now. That is reflected on there.
Okay.
So that these conversations started at the beginning of the year, and they will continue for the next 2 years. So we've supported that work. We've had Anna Murphy come and do some math training also to target the academic need, because math is a need. She's come over and trained some of the administrators. Some of the administrators were trained, and that's been part of the support that we're providing for the academic piece. So we're providing support throughout, and we're merging other things into it just because of the data, and because we want it to work. So we're coming in and just making sure that we address each one of those domains.
So you have a baseline data right now? You have some baseline
We
data.
have some.
So maybe in a year from now, end of next school year, when we begin hearing about the LCAP again, we should hear about maybe
You should hear about,
MTSS,
yes.
the difference it's made, the
Yes.
data. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Do we have any schools in San Diego that have pretty much per se the same demographics as Calexico? I know there's schools that are close to the border also as well, so it's pretty much that way we could see how they implement it, and that way we could go ahead and start, if they did an excellent job with it, that way we could roll it out pretty much the same way. Is there any schools that are currently doing that there?
I'm not sure about the schools in San Diego. I know that some of them are in the process, they're in the same process as we are, so they have gaps, in some areas, and some things have been implemented really well. But I can sure find out for you and then see if there's a model school, and if there is, I can share that information.
I mean, 'cause they would be the subject matter experts in this, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
curious to see how they did it and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask a question as a parent? How are those kids that are currently on an IEP or a 504 going to be transitioned from this, with the current system, to the MTS?
They wouldn't be transitioned. They're part of the system, so they would be in other words, the students would be merged in with the rest of the group. So it's getting everybody together. You might have a student on an IEP that does not need a tier 3 support in the social emotional, but that student might need a tier 2 support in academics. So it just depends. I mean, it's all students. It's looking at every individual student and looking at the whole child.
Do you guys have the capacity of staff that will evaluate each student independently?
That's the data that we're looking at.
All right, thank you, Ms. Montaño, Ms. Ramirez. And keep us updated. We'll move on to item H3. This would be the new local education plan, the LEA overview.
Good evening, Board of Trustees Good evening, Board of Trustees and Calexico Community. Claudia Montaño, Director of State and Federal Projects. I'm here to provide you a brief overview of the new LEA plan requirements, only about 4 or 5 slides. So if you take a look behind you, you might have it in front of you. Just to give you a brief history and a quick correction, where it says 2001 under NCLB, it's supposed to be 2002. So just to give you a brief history again, NCLB and ESSA derive from the Elementary Secondary Education Act, established in 1965, and NCLB came into play under that act in 2002 and lived until 2015, and that's where we saw things like Reading First, program improvement, and that sort of thing. And within that realm, the LEA plan existed. And that's, I just put a little picture of what it looked like just to, kind of refresh your memory for those of you who are familiar with those documents. And under ESSA in 2015, the new LEA plan, even though it was established in 2015, it took a while for them to figure out what they wanted to do with the old LEA plan. And so last year, they decided that it was going to be comprised of 3 different documents. And actually, those 3 different documents are up for approval today. So they comprise of the LECAP, the consolidated application that is within the system of the Consolidated Application Reporting System that reports all of our title programs like Title I, Title II, Title III, Title IV. And then thirdly, and the newest of them all, is the ElCap Federal Addendum. This Federal Addendum is a document that lives within the ElCap, but it is there to provide description about the federal programs in the consolidated application. So let's go over them really quickly one by one, okay? So what you have is the 3 components of the federal LEA plan, again, are the LECAP Federal Addendum, and I put a little picture there for you to see what it looks like. The LECAP, of which you've heard a lot of, and then the consolidated application. The consolidated application you see mostly at the end of the year when I come to you for approval for the application for the upcoming year. That's the board's main association with it as of late. So the first one you're very familiar with is the LECAP. It is a 3-year plan that describes the goals and actions to support the student outcomes. It is a way that we have been trained to know that it tells the story of our district. And this must be approved by June 30th or before July 1st of every year. The second is the Consolidated Application Reporting System, also referred to a lot as CARS. This is the system which holds the reports that we submit twice a year. One is called the Spring Release, which is open between May 15th and June 30th. And the second is the Winter Release, which is open between January 15th and February 28th, and it holds a variety of reports that you can read there in front of you. I won't read them to you. And the Spring Release, like I mentioned before, must be approved by every June 30th. Sometimes you see it mostly in the August board agenda because we're allowed to give a date of August because one of the requirements is to review with the DLAC, and many times we are not able to compile a DLAC meeting until August. The third is the LECAP Federal Addendum, and this one is meant to show, this is the newest of the 3, and it's meant to show how funding resources approved through the CONAP supplement the LECAP. So within the addendum, there are 3 prompts regarding strategy and alignment. I didn't want to bore you with the specifics. And those are also, that one is also due by June 30th, board approved. Okay, so welcome any questions you may have. No? Okay, thank you.
Ms. Montaño. All right, this time we'll move on to item I. This would be our consent agenda. All items appearing will be acted upon by one motion without discussion unless any item is pulled for separate consideration or action. Anything, gentlemen?
I move we approve.
There's a motion by Mr. Romero to approve.
Second.
The second by Mr. Alvarado. Any discussion? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item J, informational items. We'll begin with item J1, our superintendent's report.
Good evening again, trustees and community. So just an update on some promotions. We had our executive team present at all the promotions at all of our different school sites. And I just want to commend all of our principals that were here or are here for doing an amazing job at the promotions and the graduations. Everything went incredibly smooth. And so again, I just want to commend our administrative team for the hard work and our certificated and classified staff for the help in organizing the event. So thank you very much for that. The Calexico High School, always an amazing and beautiful graduation. fireworks like every year. And also I want to congratulate all of our class of 2019 students as they move on for the next chapter in their lives. And so we want to wish them the very best. Also, we had certificated professional development on Monday. We had George Cruz as our keynote speaker. He made emphasis on the importance of building relationships with students, embracing learning, especially the use of technology and social media to showcase amazing things you do in the classroom and the importance of being innovative. In the afternoon, we had student presenters that were from 3rd through 8th grade. They conducted Boom, Ignite, and TED-style talks, and the students were absolutely amazing. And so we want to thank all of our students who participated, did an excellent job, and also want to thank our parents that were present as well, as our students actually demonstrated their skills in front of 450 of our teachers. And so we know that when it comes to talking publicly, it is one of the biggest fears, and to have our students perform and do their very best and present their projects in front of 450 teachers, that's absolutely amazing. Summer school, our teachers have checked out, and now we're getting ready for summer school. We have summer academies for 8th grade math and science and Avid Excel that began today. And we also have our regular summer school program that will begin on Monday, June 24th, and run through July 25th. ALICE training, we have our ALICE Trainer of Trainers taking place today and tomorrow at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. We have 50 participants from all over the valley, including law enforcement. We have the majority of our principals and some of our teachers from the safety teams throughout the different school sites, 19 from CUSD attending. We will be implementing ALICE for next school year, and those trained in these 2 days will actually be the trainer of trainers for the next trainings coming up.
Can you share what ALICE is? Just what is it, the ALICE training?
Yeah, ALICE is basically how do we respond in the event of an emergency, an event of an intruder. And so these are proven methods that work best and are given by law enforcement as well. So we want to make sure that we have this in place throughout the whole district to ensure if there is an emergency, if there is a threat, that our students and our staff respond appropriately. Okay. And then we do have 150 AVID teachers that we're sending to training to San Diego next week. One of our goals is to become an AVID district, and so year after year, we have been sending our teachers to training to make sure that they are knowledgeable in regards to the AVID skills, and so that way they can implement them, and obviously the greatest impact with our students. And then lastly, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Item J2, this would be a Measure V update. Do we have an update tonight? Measure V? All right, Ms. Desert
Hello.
and Mr. Sanders.
I saw him, unless he ran away. You want to start? Or you want me to? Well, the Measure V update is that we are off and running. You have an item on the agenda tonight to approve the CTE modernization project. We finished the interim housing. There's another item on there for the notice of completion for that. Besides that, we do have some other projects that'll be starting in the next week, which would be the paving project. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sanders, who's going to bring you up to date on A2 and A3. So we're ready for a busy summer.
So for A2 and A3, we have all the comments responded, or we received the drawings back from DSA with all their comments. We have responded to those, and we're just waiting for Silver Creek to respond to those, and we'll schedule we'll be able to schedule a back check appointment for approval with the Culinary Arts Modernization Project. We're scheduled to be stamped out the week of July 2nd, And we think that we're going to be able to get that stamped out a week ahead of schedule. And as soon as that's stamped out, we will submit to OPSC for funding to get us in line for reimbursement for both the modernization and the seismic mitigation program. Thank you.
And Mr. Sanders, I mean, just for our audience, can you just describe what A2, A3 is, and the CTE project?
Yes, yes, sir. So A2 is the 16 classroom, 2-story modular building that goes on the north side of No Name Field. And A3 is the 12 classroom, 2-story modular building that goes on the north side of the existing Circle Drive in the location of the 7 modular units. So those 7 modular units come out after we get A2 or the 16 unit building done, and then we move over to the 12 unit. And then the CTE modular, that's the, or I'm sorry, the CTE Culinary Arts Project, that is a modernization project that includes a brand new state-of-the-art lab and classroom and standard teaching station at the existing Culinary Arts building, which is, as most of us know, that's an old home ec room that over the years has been converted and into a culinary arts. And so we're going to fully modernize that and bring that all up to state standards and a state-of-the-art facility.
Yeah, thank you. Any comments from members? No comments. No. Thank you, Mr. Sanders, Ms. Desert. Move on to item J3. This would be association comments. Anything from ACT? ACT? Seeing none. How about CSEA? Okay.
Belén Donato, 399 Chapter President. Buenas tardes, comunidad y board members. Esta tarde hablo en nombre de mis compañeros de MNO que están esperando por el Summer Schedule que no ha sido aprobado. En nuestro contrato hay lenguaje que dice que a mediados de junio y empieza, y hasta la fecha no ha habido ninguna respuesta, y termina en mediados de agosto. Se han manejado algunos MOUs, pero no se ha estado haciendo honor al contrato en cuanto a las fechas que se debe de hacer el horario de verano para nosotros los trabajadores que trabajamos los 12 meses. Seguimos esperando la respuesta del distrito en esta situación. También hay un comentario que quiero hacer, que ya se ha tocado el tema con el señor Vega, referente al trabajo de verano que estamos tratando de empujar para nuestros compañeros de 10 y 11 meses, donde en ocasiones anteriores se ha pedido gente para trabajar de manera, en un assignment de verano en cuanto a custodians. Tenemos un sistema de mérito que tenemos que abrazar y que tenemos que hasta cierto punto valorar, y yo como alternativa les sugiero que a la gente que tenemos dentro ya en nuestro distrito sea la que le demos la prioridad para trabajar en ese tipo de asignaciones, y también que sean ellos los que tengan la prioridad y porque tienen necesidad para seguir obteniendo de alguna manera remuneración económica. Me han estado pidiendo que hable por ellos y que empujemos esta propuesta para que ellos puedan continuar de alguna manera percibiendo algún tipo de sueldo. Hay gente de la cocina que ha estado sugiriendo y proponiendo que están listos para trabajar, gente de oficinas, gente que trabaja de proctors que no pudieron encajar dentro de las listas del Summer School regular, pero con esta propuesta y ayudando al mismo distrito, en vez de contratar gente externa y sustitutos, que sea gente interna que ya conoce sistemas de alarma, escuelas, planos de seguridad y todo eso, y que hasta cierto punto pueden ser beneficiosos en caso de que sea necesario. Otro comentario, y ya por último para terminar, es quiero volver a enfatizar algo que mi compañera María Bravo ha estado trayendo a la mesa las veces que hemos estado platicando, y lo ha comentado aquí durante algunas otras sesiones, es que hay algunos programas, y voy a poner un ejemplo, Frontline, un posible handbook, posiciones nuevas, el programa Escape, y ahora un nuevo programa que quiere implementar el distrito que se llama Telephonic Nurse Case Management, donde va a ser una enfermera que va a determinar cuando haya un caso de workers' comp. Se le va a tener que hablar a ella, y ella es la que va a hacer el papeleo en caso de algún problema, y estamos viendo que es un filtro hasta cierto punto extra para que la gente pueda ir directamente con el doctor a que sea revisado. No creo que una enfermera en el teléfono sea lo suficientemente eficiente para determinar si alguien está avalado para ir a la oficina a ver a un doctor o no, en caso de workers' comp. Estos casos que les hablo son casos que no se han llevado a la mesa para negociar, y son casos negociables. Si no están en nuestro contrato, nosotros los vamos a tomar meramente como una sugerencia de ustedes hacia nosotros, pero nosotros respetamos únicamente y hacemos honor a lo que tenemos en nuestro contrato. Muchísimas gracias y buenas tardes.
Thank you. Moving on to item J4, this would be the ROP committee report.
Yes, good evening, everyone. We met this morning at 6:30. That's why I'm kind of falling asleep, but I'm here. I'm proud to say that IVROP has a positive budget. We went over it this morning. Also, but most important, we also discussed the Strong Workforce Program, Imperial Valley Health and Safe Public Services Grant, where monies were awarded to Imperial Valley schools in the amount of approximately $3,823,000, of which Calexico will be receiving $713,000 of this money. So IVROP will be contacting our district so we can disseminate this money, and it goes for the CTE. And some of the wish lists that our staff indicated were to pay for substitutes, instructional material supplies for CTE, and also for professional development. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Calderon.
You get another speaker.
So we'll begin with J5. This will be our board report. Actually, yeah, board reports. Mr. Calderon.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming to our meeting. I apologize for not being able to go to the high school graduation. I had an emergency in Yuma, and I wasn't able to attend. I did, however, went to the promotion ceremony at Willie Moreno, and then I went to the promotion ceremony for Cesar Chavez. So very, very well attended, and very well planned. Kudos to all the principals on the sites. However, Mr. Gonzalez, I do have a couple of concerns regarding some texts and emails that I've been getting, and it refers to your personnel and the way that you have directed or have not directed your directors to handle personal matters. I got an email from a person stating that she got a letter of termination. The one of your directors stated, because you were absent to the summer school training on June 8, we need to rescind the job offer. The poster listed the training dates and stated the training was mandatory. Thank you for your interest. We hope we can work together with you in the future. If that's how one of your directors does business, that director has no business doing anything here. because this is not the way to treat a member of a community. Okay? And I also have another one of many complaints that I've received about this director. It states working for the ACES program in Calexico has become an unhealthy environment. Our biggest concern, it's our boss is spending the majority of our program funds on Audrey White, an after school consultant. She performs the duties of our boss at a very high cost. Isn't the ACES district coordinator the person who should be observing sites instead of an outside consultant who is paid ridiculous amounts of money to observe for 20 minutes? Besides the necessary spending, we have a hard time communicating with both our boss and her assistant. They don't always answer emails or phone calls. The miscommunication has caused issues of our size, and we worry for the safety of our children. We fear coming forward with these complaints because we know it will cause the loss of our jobs. Our direct complaints to our boss have resulted in unfair firings. We ask that you please help the ACES program and personnel. There needs to be more transparency on how money is spent and more respectful treatment of our staff. So, Carlos, if that's the way that you direct your directors to treat their people, we need to talk, because that is not the way that this board wants business done. And I think the board would agree that that's not. I know there will be firings, yes, but not through an email. That's not the way to do things. Okay, and I'm sorry the members of the public had to hear this, but this has gone long enough. Other than that, thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
Mr. Calderon?
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here and joining us tonight. My name is Lorenzo Calderon. First of all, we have a lot of students here. You guys should be enjoying your summer vacation, but that's good you're here, because you have a lot here that's going to be discussed tonight, and thank you for joining us. Just a quick message. We had the AR Readers Program conducted in 7 of our elementaries, where the top readers of the year received bicycles. We delivered approximately 49 bicycles to our students, to the top readers. And again, thank you, administrators, for making this program a success. And also thanks to Plan Ops for the logistics, for making sure the bikes were at sites and that we did not miss a beat, because it was hot out there. And to keep our children out there in the summer is very, very bad. So again, thank you to the M&O staff for taking care of that. And thank you, where's Ms. Ramirez? Thank you for making everything happen. Even when I was making 20, 30 calls to you, you would respond, and you were ensuring that everything went well. And everything went without a flaw. So thank you again. And thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Mr. Alvarado?
Well, thank you all for attending tonight. Young lady, thank you for informing us of, all that. I know it's not easy going out there and talking, but, I commend you for that. I also want to thank Frank for all the wonderful work that he's done, not only at Maines, but now at Rockwood and Dual School. Also want to congratulate the class of 2019. It was a wonderful, new method that we use to get 2 lines, hopefully a little bit faster. That way we could congratulate everybody a little bit sooner. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have with just the other items that were discussed right here, but that will be discussed during closed session. So thank you so much.
Very good. Mr. Romero?
Thank you all for coming. Attended the Aurora graduation. They had 68 students, which is incredible. Dynamic speaker. Then the high school had 683, more or less. 693. And it's impressive that out of 693, 684 are already committed to a 4-year college, 2-year college, or the Army. That is really impressive. And we had a dynamic speaker also and a singer. What talent that Calexico students have. It's really incredible. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, gentlemen. Again, I'll just add, there's, the end of the year, there's a lot of activities going on for students, for staff across the district, whether they're the promotions, graduations, the sports banquets that we attended. field trips that students attend, or swimming pool trips. There's a lot. So again, it's a lot of hard work to coordinate that, provide that leadership. So I want to recognize certainly our school sites and our staff for taking care of that, M&O for transportation and setup. Just the promotions alone at every school site's a lot of work. So thank you everyone for doing that. I'll mention one I know that hasn't been mentioned yet. That was Monday after the professional development. That was a great session with students speaking. There was a Z Global that Ms. Galindo helps coordinate every year. And again, this year that was done again, where about 20 students receive a laptop to help them continue their studies and their education. So again, she coordinated that. Ms. Williams was there present to speak to staff or the students and parents. Wonderful event. So again, there's a lot of things that people are doing across the district that we don't often hear about, but certainly make a difference for the lives of our students and our community across the board. Just one last thing I'll share as part of our CSBA, California School Boards Association. There is a new online learning site with modules to help school board members with their professional development on budgets, HR, academics. So I'll pass this down and Superintendent's office will email it out so you have that link. This is free for board members for a period over the summer. But again, we'll share that so you have this access and resource. I'll also have this office send out a couple governance briefs that are relevant. This one, Essentials of School Board Roles in the LEAP Implementation Development. We heard that tonight. We hear it all the time. So this is, again, just key information. And then the third one, we'll send out by email so you have it. It's regarding why schools hold the promise of adolescent mental health. And that ties in perfectly to that MTSS we heard just now. These are all relevant topics. CSBA's pushing out briefs, so we have these. And again, I'll have the superintendent's office share those with you. And again, everybody enjoy your summer. Thank you. We'll continue now with our agenda, going to item K.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, sir.
Since we have a lot of students here, I believe they're here for K-22, can that be moved up? Is that possible?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm seeing consensus from the board. No objection?
No objection.
So with that said, and I think in the interest of the audience, thank you, Mr. Romero. Do we need to vote on that? No? All right, we'll do that. We're going to jump to K-22, and then we'll go back to our agenda here. So on K-22, and I do have a comment as well, Speaker. It's closed campus during lunch for Calexico High School beginning the 2019-20 school year. And I know I have a comment from Angel de Dios. And is Angel here? Angel, do you want to wait till Ms. Williams presents and then speak? Okay, thank you. Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Can I get my presentation? Okay, there it is. Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Trustees and community members. My name is Gabby Williams, and I'm principal at Calexico High School. I'm here today to make a recommendation to close our campus and share a little bit of information. I know some of you may have already heard a little bit from the last presentation, but as one of our students mentioned, and in fact, let me go to our students right now, and I see all of them here, and I just want to tell you, want to address something that one of our students shared. You are not given a consequence, and please do know that, and hopefully with the presentation and the information that I'll share, you'll understand that. I know it may feel as a consequence, but I did want to address that because everything that we do at Calexico High School, all of our adults as a team together are the best. We have the best interest at heart to do the best we can do, from opening new classes, new clubs, decorating the campus, bringing more opportunities and organizations for you, including lockdown drills and all the other things that we do to address school safety. So please know that this is not a consequence for anyone or for all students because of one incident. So having said that, one of our students shared, or someone shared, that there is current a board policy for the Calexico School District 5112.5 that all of our campuses are closed campuses. I believe this was adopted in 1988. And due to some of the challenges that Calexico High School has had in terms of facilities, it actually has never happened been a closed campus. But there is actually something that exists, and I wanted to share that with you. Having said that, part of the board policy, I'm not going to read all the information in every slide. I'll just summarize. But part of the information in the board policy is that for safety reasons, the district or the board of trustees at that time opted to close all campuses in the district, and making sure that the administration addresses opportunities for education or organizational activities, recreation, social interaction, and quiet reading study time. The board policy also mandates that schools include all of this information about a closed campus logistics into our parent notices and student handbooks. And it also notes board policy that having a lunch, open lunch, is a privilege that can be taken away from students, and that is in our board policy. So having said that, for example, piece of information of our board policy states must remain on campus, all students until the end of the school day unless they have a written authorization from their parent or guardians and receive permission from school authorities to leave for a specific purpose. And that's again taken from our board policy. Calexico High School is ready to put into place a student off-campus permission form that parents can sign every time they request that their child leave campus. The parent guardian will be required to come into the attendance office and fill out the form for each instance in which the student will be off campus during the lunch period. In addition, request administration approval, and the form is only valid for 1-day release. This is no different than the sister high schools in our valley that are closed. They do have a form in place, and in fact, I read their forms and came up and drafted something very similar to theirs. And they also require that the parent comes in for every instance that they want to allow or remove the student from the lunch campus. And so moving forward, if we do close the campus, this form will come into place, and it would be, again, very similar to our local sisters high schools. Also, the board policy states that parent notices, student handbooks shall fully explain all of the rules of our protocols and procedures for a closed campus. We're prepared to do that. We drafted a lot of information already, including the form that states a lot of how can a student be granted permission to leave for that lunch period. And it also states here that the privilege may be revoked for a violation of any type of conditions. We added that to the form, and again, it's very similar to what other high schools are using, including I Googled some other high schools, not local high schools, but in San Diego, and they draft something very similar, stating that the parent is responsible for removing the student from lunchtime, and that they release the school, the district, from any type of liability. Also, the notices are for one instance, and it does require administrator approval. So in our proposal, last time we discussed 2 lunches, obviously. Keep in mind that not too long ago, Central High School was a 3-lunch closed campus in order to keep their students on campus. We are proposing, and we firmly believe with the adults that make everything happen at Calexico High School, that we can manage our current student population with 2 lunches. Of course, this is grades 9 to 12. It impacts all of them. I had some questions, Ms. Williams, does this mean only main campus? No, we are one school, and it would require our 9th grade campus to follow the same bell schedule. A lot of our students go back and forth. They come for band, choir, and other classes, and some of our students head over to 9th grade campus. But we have worked out the minutes, and as you can see here, I'll come over to I'll explain a little bit more about the titles of these groups, the 4A, the 4B, but these are just the students that 4A is the first group of students and teachers that stays in class, and 4B is the second group of students and teachers that will come into the second period time. Bell schedule will look something like this. We shared bell schedule with our ACT union and ensure that, and we did the math, ensuring that there are no changes in our instructional minutes. Of course, we need to adhere to the instructional minutes from the state, and we will continue to go over the instructional minutes by 80 minutes, so there would be no concerns there in terms of impact to the state required time. I want to jump to a little bit of breakdown again in terms of unexcused entruancies. So when a student does not report back from campus, we mark that unexcused absence. No one excused the student, it is a truancy. Why the word truancy? Because sometimes, believe it or not, parents do call and say, hey, he's here at home, he's truant, he's ditching, and we can't make him or her go back. So when an unexcused absence is confirmed by the parent or the SRO out there or ourselves, then we mark it a T. But overall, these are students just not returning back to the campus. And as you can see, I'd like to always tell my staff, okay, what can we control? Okay, we have a lot of challenges, as any organization does. And sometimes we dwell into those challenges and we get overwhelmed. And sometimes I try to refocus my team and saying, what is it that we can control? Okay, in terms of unexcused entruancies, I feel, and part of members of my team feel, okay, we can control, for the most part, period 2, 3, and 4. Why? Because they're already here. And we need to go out there in passing time and make sure they make it from one class to the other. Sort of not so much in our control is period 1. Obviously, they're coming from home. We see a lot of excessive tardies just not showing up, and they show up until period 2. So that's why you see those also significant numbers. So for period 1, you see the numbers by grade level, adding up to an impact total of 7,811. And for period 5, you see also there the impact totaling to 9,253. And then for period 6, you see the total impact, and then again broken down by grade level. I want to share that I contacted some of local high schools, and during this 2 weeks period, I spoke to every principal of high school in the Valley, and some of the data, I can't disclose which high school, they asked me not to, but a closed campus in the Imperial Valley, truancies for a period after lunch, this year they logged in 3,994 unexcused entruancies, and this is a closed campus. And as I mentioned last time, closing the campus does not solve all of the issues that we have. It is not, we won't be seeing 0 unexcused or truancies. That's not going to happen. Every high school in California sees truancies throughout the day, especially when we live in a city like Calexico High School. It's just huge. Kids disappear. It's going to happen.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Period 5 and 6. Are you counting, for example, when students, if the parents come to pick them up, or if they
No.
go to ROP,
No.
or if they have a short schedule?
No.
If they don't need, for example, when I went to high school, I didn't need 6 period.
No. So when I came on board, every kid has a full schedule. I have not authorized a half a schedule. Everyone has to finish the full schedule 1 through 6. And to answer your question, no. These are purely if there's another excused absences. The parent called in or the parent came in and took the child. That's not into account. That would be in addition to these numbers. So these are kids that we just don't know where they are, unaccounted for. And so that's 9,253 incidents that were logged in. We don't know where our kids are total.
Did you double check this?
Yes.
These
Oh,
numbers?
yes. We've run the reports several times.
From
On a daily basis, how much would that be?
From where?
On a daily basis, like say, for example, on a normal day, how many?
I think I have the averages here. About 100 and something, a little bit over 100 kids every day for 180 days. It averages to about 100 kids. Just we don't know what's going on with them. I want to note that from this comparison to, and I know it's only a comparison, but just to give you some ideas, this particular high school that's closed with 3,094 incidents that they closed, it's still a high number, but we are 5,259 more. And they're a very comparable high school, and even 994, even 4,000, and we rounded off, it's still a lot, but our numbers are double that. And so I wanted to share that with you. And this is a 5,000 and let me see, and for only, 5,259 more incidents for us for only the 3 grade levels. If I take away that 87 for period 5 at the 9th grade level, we're still 5,000 more incidents of truancy than any high school here in the Valley. So having said that, I did my math here, Mr. Alvarado, to answer your question, is the average is 20, it's an average, 20 truancies per day per grade level. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. What am I doing? Okay, here we go. So this is another way to look at the numbers that at least that myself and my team did, going back to what are the periods that we feel we have more control of our students, and by asking the teachers be at the door, greet the student, asking campus security, ourselves, go out there and make sure our kids are not getting late to class. Again, periods 2, 3, and 4 are 3 periods that we feel, okay, we can handle our kids, and we still see these numbers. But look at the numbers for periods 1, 5, and 6, that we just have less control of our students and telling them to get to class on time, or they so-and-so just did not make it to class. And so it is a significant jump in numbers from 3 classes, as you can see, and then periods 1, 5, and 6. The next slide is like, okay, well, what if they're all here? What if they're here in the morning? And so, okay, I said, let's look at the numbers in a different way. And that's periods 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we get them here in the morning and they're here all day. I'm not going to go over all that information, but I want to highlight the totals. So at the ninth grade campus, and these are averages. If a student shows up, if all students show up, one periods 1 through 4, we have about 4.5 incidents per day in terms of truancies. Now, if we divide that by 4 classes, that means that about 1 student was truant in every class, and that's it. If we go to the 9th grade campus in the morning, we're averaging about 28 incidents per day per grade level, and that is 7 times more than a 9th grade campus. And okay, so now let's look, okay, they went through the morning, what happens after lunch, periods 5 and 6. So at the 9th grade level, we average about 1 incident per day. And at the main campus, our average goes up to 33.3 incidents per day per grade level, and that's 33.3 more times than a 9th grader. And I know you're taking my word, but I can share then this information later on, more confidential with the Board of Trustees, with the district. But the numbers in comparison to other local high schools, without saying their names, is a lot less than what we're averaging per periods 5 and 6. They were averaging, I saw some of their numbers at 2,000 and something for periods 5 and 6 towards the end, and average throughout the day, and that was coming out to about 4 or 5. And we are at 33.3 for periods 5 and 6, and this is after our lunch period. We also took a look at grades, and I didn't post all the information, but I do have information here with me. For the last 2 years, there is a trend, and that's all we had time to look at, but there's definitely a trend that we saw in terms of kids' number of Ds and number of Fs for periods 5 and 6. We all know if our kids are not in the classroom, they're not learning. If our kids are not in the classroom, they're not learning, they're falling behind. And so why don't you see their A's and B's is because most of those kids' A's and B's, they're sustaining those A's and B's. It is reality that our 4.0 kids, our 3.8, 3.9 kids are in class on time and getting their work done for the most part, for the majority. There's not a lot of changes in grades from A's to B's all throughout the day, periods 1 through 6. But we start, and it was 1.3 actually for A's change. For B's, it was also in the 1.something%. Then when it comes to letter grade C's, students who are typically getting C's, D's, and F's, then we see that in the morning periods 1 through 4, there is an average of 467.5 students averaging a C. And then for period 5, just coming in after lunch, that is a 3% increase of 485 Fs. For students averaging Ds, for periods 1 through 4, there's 218, let's say, average of students earning a D. And then just for period 5, it goes up 23%. And then for students that are earning Fs, periods 1 through 4, we see, that the average is 214 students earning an F, and again, that's an average. And then only for period 5, 280, that's an increase of 35. So as you can see, only one period, if we just look at the letter grades for period 5, in balance with 4 other periods, there's still an increase. One class, one period, which is period 5, is significantly impacted, even if you're mixing and averaging 4 grades. So we definitely saw a correlation there in terms of impact in student grades for a 2-year trend. Moving on to what it would look like in terms of 2 lunches. Well, we would have 2 groups, and we would refer to group 1 as our group 4A, and then our second group would be group 4B. And group 4A takes lunch during the second lunch period, and our group 4B would take lunch during the first lunch period. So it took me a while. I said, why is A second lunch? But just think of terms of groups of students in class. We're not classifying lunch terms of students, again, in class. So the first group of students and teachers that stays in class is our 4A, period. That's it. 4A stays in class, and that's why they're marked letter A. And then our second group of students who stays in class, the second period, second of the 4th period is our group B. Main campus teachers. So we already geared up and got actual numbers. This is about the main campus, the impact in terms of breaking the master schedule. Our group 4A, our first group of students to sit in class, would be assigned to 39 teachers of our 97 teachers in the classroom. They would be in session, and it is approximately 1,100. We did the math with our current numbers, and it was 1,200 and a little bit over 1,200. And it's all contingent upon enrollment, so we're guessing it's going to be about 1,100, possibly it won't be more than 1,200. And so the students that would go out to lunch would be about the same number, 1,100, 1,200, depending on how many kids get to enroll at Calexico High School next year. So then the group 2, which is our group 4B, they're the ones that are in session during the second lunch, and it came out evenly in terms of teachers, 39 and 39. That was a very easy way we identified, and it worked out, and it was 39 and 39 even numbers in terms of dividing our teachers. Obviously, this is an impact, of course, to the 9th grade campus, and our numbers came back also pretty accurate. 16 teachers would be in session during the first lunch with approximately 375 students in session. And it would be about the same, contingent upon enrollment. Group 4B, they are in session during the second lunch, and it came out evenly as well. 16 teachers with approximately 350, 375 students in lunchtime. Approximately 4 teachers would be assigned prep period 4. In terms of the 9th grade campus impact on the noise impact and instruction in the classroom, there will be absolutely no issues there, because even the way it's structured right now, all the off zones, the kids during lunchtime are completely away from the classrooms. And so at the 9th grade campus, there's absolutely zero. It would be the exact same thing you see right now in terms of students out in the quad, in the field, in the gym. It would look the same. For the main campus, I know one of the questions was, okay, how do we minimize noise, or are we going to completely avoid it or not? And how about the classrooms that are next to the gym, to the ramadas, to the cafeteria? What are we going to do about it? Well, we figured out a way to give everyone who's near the ramada area prep period 4. And so all of your classroom next to the cafeteria and all the classrooms next to the gym, to the eating areas, they're on prep. There's no instruction going on there, and it works perfectly okay in the master schedule, which means 16 teachers would be on prep during period 4. And there are no conflicts in terms of, Ms. Williams, have you considered the pathways, the tracks, offering AP at this time? Of course, we have to consider that, or we would be in a huge glitch in terms of the student scheduling. And so that has worked out. And in terms, again, of the noise, that has worked out. The kids can eat and we can play music and we can do what we need to do. And our classes would be, as you will see in this map, not anywhere close to where lunch is being, where lunch is taking place. And so in this map, I'm colorblind. Is that orange or red? Red. All right, a red, orange, right? So that's our group 4A. And so those kids are in class. And if you look at the pink, I think they're pink and Varner Gym, they are in lunch. And that's, our kids at the main campus have areas that are closed off to them as well. And so this would be no different than what we have right now. Everyone, again, in the orange is in class, in session, and then Varner Gym is hosting kids. Everything that you see there in white, as you see there, prep. ASB is out there in the quad area. Then we have only one single classroom there where it says prep. Currently, Mr. Estrada, room 1, in front of the cafeteria, he's on prep. So there would not be any impact. So again, our students are in lunch while everyone, half of the student population in the orange classrooms are in session. And then the bell rings and then all the orange, I'll call them orange students, go out to lunch, which is our group A. And then our group B students reports to class, which are the green zones that you see there. And so we still have our students away from those areas. There would be no impact in terms of saying, oh my God, they're super loud, they're right next to me, they're outside of my door. That would not be the situation. And then I'll just note here that all the pink and you'll see numbers and so forth, those are the number of seating areas that we have available for students. Keeping in mind that we recently purchased, I ordered 35, this year I ordered 35 of those nice picnic umbrella tables that are becoming more and more popular, 35 at the main campus. And so with our current, if we anticipate the same general funds for Calexico High School next year, that is something we can continue to add with another 35 or 40 picnic umbrella tables, and that would add a seating of about 300 to 310 students. But we do have enough to sit over 1,000 students in a chair. We still have benches in the halls. Kids sit under the trees. There's some areas there that, there's still kids go and use, and not necessarily the bench area, a Ramada bench area or a picnic table. Finally, moving on, main campus security, what is that going to look like? Currently, as you can see from 2018-19, right now we have 4 campus security assigned to the inside of the campus. So when our kids leave and looking at numbers of how many meals we serve and looking at everything, the big picture, we project that about 1,000 of our 2,000 or 2,200 students leave campus. That's what we project. Over 1,000, a little bit over 1,000 kids leave the campus on average. Of course, not every single day, but it certainly feels like every single day because it feels at a campus of about 1,000. I have worked on, when I was a principal, Willie Moreno, and then at the old De Anza, and then an assistant principal, our numbers were 1,000, 900, 1,000. And that's what Calexico High School feels like during lunchtime. It's about an average of 1,000 kids. So currently, for 1,000 kids, we have 4 campus security inside the campus. 1 is assigned to the front, and then we have 2 out supervising the food carts, the library, just roving around. We have 6 student supervision assistants. Can we make it work with our current campus security? Yes, we can. It wouldn't be much different. Can we always use more? Absolutely. For the next coming year, the first lunch, we still would have 5 campus security assigned to the inside of the school, and then 2 additional campus security would come in 15 minutes before the end of the lunch. In speaking to these 2 additional ones, would you be willing to change your schedule and support students' supervision and safety needs? Of course, yes, they said, and then that's something that we would follow up with HR to make sure we follow the appropriate protocol there. But even if they would say no, we still have 5. We start lunch with 5 campus security, and we would get them 15 minutes into the lunch. For lunch, the second lunch, everybody would be there. All the campus security would be assigned to the inside of the campus, which is the number of proctors that we have. And then we would continue with their student supervision assistants. So if you consider that each lunch would host about 1,100 students, that's what we currently manage. 7 proctors to a ratio of about 1,100 students. That we don't foresee, it really will not, I don't anticipate any difference. It really is not going to look much different to what we see right now. Other quick procedures, parent and student checkout during lunch. Parents picking up their child during lunchtime, there would be no different than our current protocol. There would be no changes there. Parents are required to come in during lunchtime and sign out their child, and that's our current protocol. Students are not released as per phone calls. I got this question, and I said, no, it would still be the same. There's no different. Their parents, we don't release students on a phone call. What if they're 18 years old? The protocol, current protocol, still the parent has to come in and sign out the student. They cannot leave campus, not even right now, and with a closed campus, they can't. And it's also very similar. Actually, every closed campus in the Valley, every high school that has a closed campus in Valley does not release 17 and 18-year-olds. The parents have to come and sign them out. So we wouldn't be doing anything different than other closed campuses. It would be the same protocol in place. Lunch drop-off, I got this question, well, what if our parents want to drop off food? And they do. We have a lot of parents that drop off food for students at the main campus and more so at the 9th grade campus. And the protocol is that they communicate and the child comes to the office or comes, if you're familiar with CHS 9, to the other side, and then they pick up their food from the parent, and of course we would support that. Is traffic going to be impacted? Yes, it is, but it's always been impacted. And it would be up to the parent to be in line, wherever waiting for their child. So we wouldn't implement anything different than what we're already doing at CHS 9. Front offices right now, currently, we do not accept lunch deliveries. We don't call students to pick up lunch, and we are no different than any other high school. Imagine if we have 100, 200 deliveries. I mean, we don't have the manpower, and neither does any high school has the manpower to do that. Now, something that I've been asked, our kids get Uber Eats out there? That's popular. Pizza Hut, I don't think that's too popular now, but Uber Eats is. And of course, we would, for safety reasons, we don't know which car, who's driving, what they're dropping off. That would be something we would not support, and that we would be out there on the lookout. Of course, the only entry to Calexico High School is through the front office. So if anyone would show up and say, I'm Uber Eats and I'm bringing food for so-and-so, we would say, absolutely not, that's not allowed. And make sure that that item is not dropped off or delivered to our students. We get worried. I know it's happening, and I've heard some stories, and that's a safety concern. What's happening with Uber Eats out there, and that's why we would ensure that on our grounds, it's not enforced and not supported for student safety. I've been asked, Ms. Williams, would you allow us to heat up our food? And I'm talking to my team and manpower, and I think I shared this idea with Ms. Ramirez. I said, yes, we have the manpower. We can have one of our student supervision, student assistant ladies with the support of someone out there. But yes, we can offer a microwave services for students that come in and want to heat up their food. For sure, we have to look into a couple more of additional water chillers, but not something like, oh my God, it's excessive. What we need, it's doable. ASB would continue to stock. We have current vending machines that sell cold water, Gatorade, and any approved snacks that would continue to take place. And currently we have sufficient vending machines stocked by Coca-Cola. If our kids want more, we can add more. There is no challenge there. And finally, lunch activities. I reached out, of course, to ASB. Can we offer ASB activities, music, whatever's happening in both lunches? Absolutely, yes. The way we worked out the schedule with the ASB director is that they're available and putting out activities for 2 lunches. ASB would increase the number of activities during lunchtime, of course, and we have 2 new ASB directors that are excited to take on that challenge and provide opportunities for students. They have some great ideas. Some of those ideas is they're already thinking, can we bring guest speakers? Now, because of our instructional time, any high school in California is always really impacted in instructional time, and our assemblies, you know, we don't do assemblies like back 4 years ago when we would let kids go home and then stay those for assemblies, or we would do assemblies after school. So this would be a great idea to bring assemblies and guest speakers inside the gym during lunchtime. Also, the counselor team already said, can we bring recruiters during lunchtime and make sure they're available there with information? Can we bring IVC? Can we make sure the College Access Center is up and running and available? Our current counselor team leaves for lunchtime because they say most kids don't show up. They don't come over. They're out there buying food. So the counseling team of Calexico High School members of the team said, hey, if you close the campus, if it happens, we're staying. Our kids are going to be here on campus. We're going to be available to them, and we feel that they're going to be reaching out to us a lot more than after school. After school is, yeah, I want to go home, forget it. But being on campus, the counselors had some great ideas. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Mr. Hi. No. No. Sanders. I'm sorry. To get shades, just like we have the one that we have at Cesar Chavez, do we need to ask permission to DSA? Yes.
We do have one comment that was submitted, and this time I'll ask Angel de Dios. This is your opportunity, Angel. Up to the front, please. That's fine, yeah, you've got 3 minutes.
Well, I'm pretty sure most of you guys have heard, but we posted a petition on change.org about us not having closed campus, and we got around 2,283 who signed the petition in 2 days.
Could you say your name, please, so we know you?
Mm-hmm.
Your name?
Gracia Lopez.
Got it.
Mm-hmm. We got 2,283 people who signed the petition. That many students and parents and many other people from Calexico, El Centro, and everyone else in the valley signed. There are many reasons why we don't want closed campus. And closed campus shouldn't be something that should be enforced after one event.
I would like to talk about what Ms. Williams said about safety. Right now, I am a sophomore. I'm an incoming sophomore, and I was at the 9th grade campus, and it was a closed campus, but there were still fights. There were still violent actions taking place, and that does not mean that we're all going to be safe as soon as we're closed campus. That does not mean that as soon as I'm in a closed campus, I'm going to be 100% safe. There will still be people. Open campus may not be the solution, but we are willing to compromise. They expect ditching rates to go down, but bullying rates are going to go up. Either way, if you split the 2 lunches, people are going to be feeling isolated, and their mental health is going to be at risk. They're not going to be able to feel comfortable with the environment, and they're not going to be able to feel. Now, I'm an incoming sophomore, like I said, but I did have a lot of opportunities to have lunch at the main campus. And even if Ms. Williams says, you know, all these places, I saw how packed it was. And if you go on a normal day at high school and you see how packed it is and how you have to go out, you guys would be wasting a lot of money if you did that.
Can you share your name?
Citlali Jauregui, future senior. So basically, I just want to add to what Angel has said. Our high school is pretty packed. Just think of the number that Ms. Williams just mentioned, how many graduates are going to graduate. Now take in mind all the grades put in together in one high school, all trapped, okay? We're just going to be locked up. Yeah, maybe fights are going to happen here and there, but now think about how many students there is compared to adults, okay? And another story I want to mention real quick is that even nurses tells us that if our parents can pick us up, we should wait until lunch. So, I mean, you guys should be all in the same boat if you are going to close campus. Thank you.
I want to add one more thing. Ms. Williams is comparing us to other high schools, but we're not like other high schools. We're 3,000 kids and counting. Right now, the high school graduates was 694, I believe. And my class, we're 856. And we're still counting, and the classes are getting bigger. Calexico cannot maintain that many people. Even if Imperial and other high schools, Central has 2,000, Southwest has 2,000, Imperial has 1.5K, Hopeville has 500, Brawley has 1,600. We are humongous compared to those amounts, and closed campus is not gonna be a good idea to keep us all in together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, students. Other discussion by the board? Go ahead.
I have one question for Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, obviously you're very passionate about your proposal, and so are the students, and thank you for being here tonight. We're here for you. But my question is, have we had any meetings or committees to discuss this proposal, such as the stakeholders that are now talking about how this change would impact them? And I'm
No.
talking not only our students, but Mr. Villegas' staff, the teachers, parents, and everybody. I mean, we had Mr. Wong come and talk to us. He's going to be impacted. So my question is, have we had some type of, like, town hall or something to talk about it and
So-
see? Because what I see, this lady here in front of me, young lady, she pointed her view today, and she was very animated at
Articulate,
what how she sees it. So there's a lot of talent out there, and they might see things that we don't see. So that's why it's important to get everyone involved that is going to be impacted, so we can come up with a good decision, and that way everyone buys into it. What I hear here is we're opposing 2 sides, 3 sides, and 4 sides, and we're never going to get anywhere, because the first thing our students are going to do, they're going to go against you.
And that's okay. That's okay. I don't take that personally. A lot of them come and challenge me in the office, and I actually tell them I love that. It means we're educating them well. And I used to be one of them, always challenging and questioning, and wanting to know the why. So I do understand that, and my students have my full support. In terms of committees, as I shared last time, this topic came about at our school site council with parents, just 3-4 weeks ago. I was asked to bring it to the board, and for time pressing, that all the events that was taking place at Calexico High School, I did meet with our teachers. I did meet with our leadership team. I met with our school site council parents. And officially, no, I did not meet with kids because, again, we ran out of time. Something like this, it will never come to a consensus. 3,000 kids, 300 employees, 6,000 parents. But should they have the forum, the platform to speak their concerns? Absolutely. Be on behalf of our school site council parents and the teachers that express support, meeting with Mr. Taylor and the reps, they said, it's your school, and you're right. I've heard a lot of positives, absolutely a lot of positives, and of course there's always going to be challenges and disadvantages to any decision that we make for our students.
Well, let me remind you, Ms. Williams, it's their school, our students' school. That's right. Because without them, we will not be sitting here.
I
Or
agree.
you would not have a job.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
and again, I don't want to debate you here or anything. I think we should meet so we can get more input. I think an intelligent input would be better in the future. I'm from class of '80, and I still remember open campus, But again, we had an incident, and just because we had an incident, it shouldn't mean that we're going to change the world. I think we should educate what we're trying to do, and maybe you are right, or maybe the student's right. I don't know, but I'm trying to make things a lot easier. We have a whole summer to discuss this, and hopefully we can meet and come up with a solution to this.
So I'll share a couple of things. You're absolutely right. It's their school. We are the adults, and we make decisions, again, in their best interest. Every decision is not shared with students because of logistically, of course. But yes, such a decision should be shared. And because, again, of time and because of parents requesting, school side council parents brought it up because our Calexico Police Department, including today, Chief, brought it up and said, as of us, you need to do what you need to do with your school, but on behalf of the Calexico Police Department, we are shutting down the carts. How are you going to serve your students? So that's happening anyway. And because of the lack of time, again, I go back to that. If we don't make a recommendation and approval today, that's okay. Absolutely, we'll go through the protocols, but it will not be something to be implemented next year due to master schedule and getting 3,000 schedules ready. We won't be able to do it. So I'm going to recommend that if there's no decision or this item is tabled, and absolutely fine with that, then it will be a year's process, a year's long process, because if meeting, especially in the summer, and individuals being out, by the time we come to a consensus, it's August, we need to have schedules ready. It won't happen. We won't make it happen. So do we wait for a year? I don't mind. That's absolutely okay. We do what we need to do. And we go out there and we continue to do business out during lunchtime with my team and adults like any other year and do better. And I do want to say that this is not, at least for me, speaking on my personal opinion, this is not my opinion to come and say because of that incident. No, that incident is one of many, many, many reported to Calexico High School every year for the 4 years that I've been there. And you heard the police officers last board meeting that the number of calls that they get, vandalism, illegal substances, sexual behavior, that's been going on forever. Was this incident a little bigger to call on our attention as the adults and the administrators and the parents to say, hey, what are you doing about it? As I shared with you the last board meeting, the day of this incident and the following day, phone calls to me was close the campus, close the campus. I had not even thought about it, but this came from parent phone calls. I said, okay, you want to start talking about it, let's do that. And so that's where this initiated. This is not something I'll tell the students that I woke up and said, let's close the campus. It is a challenge for teachers, it is a challenge for all of you students, and it is a challenge for all the adults supervising for 2 hours out there. It is a challenge for all of us, but every adult I've spoken to is willing to take on that challenge to say, let's be creative and keep our kids inside. So let's do that. I'm the messenger, I'm the leader, I'm the principal, and it's my job to bring this message on behalf of many that have asked me to do that.
I have a comment from Maria Bravo.
Maria Bravo, I'm the CSCA Chapter 399 Chief Job Steward. Calexico High School, along with every other campus, not only belongs to the students, to the community, but also to our members. We are also accountable for our members that work there. And I sit in the audience and I cannot believe to hear Mr. Calderon say what he said and not honor an existing board policy. How can you not follow through with an existing board policy on closed campuses? What is the message you're sending out there? It's okay to violate? I disagree with you. I totally disagree with you, and I think it's totally wrong because it's the wrong message. You have an existing board policy, you abide by it. I have 3 nieces at the high school campus. My sister is against it, but I said, you know what? Having open campus is a privilege. It's a privilege. But you do have a board policy that you must honor. Thank you.
Well, just to, and I normally don't respond, I have not said not to close the campus. I just said that we should communicate this process. I'm gonna-
It was
that's what-
communicated at last board meeting.
Okay, well,
The
I
people
will-
had the opportunity to come at last board meeting and see the presentation, do their town hall meetings in between. Nothing was done. I'm sorry.
Well,
But
That's what I'm
again, like I
saying.
said, there's an existing board policy. You must
thank you.
honor it. That's all I have to say.
Okay, then-
Honor an existing law. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo. Next speaker, Anthony Mosley.
Thank you to the board for hearing me and to everyone here, because I know they want to see change, but it's hard for us as students to give that change because we're often looked over because of our age. We're seen as like, oh, they are irresponsible. They aren't able to make decisions. And as adults, we should be making those decisions for them. But the number of adolescents compared to the number of adults is just like, it shouldn't be that way, because like we are the ones who are living in it. We are the ones who attend school every day, and we know the problems because we face them head on. And they say that if you close the campus, things will just improve. But honestly, like based on everything that I've experienced with people, closing the campus will just increase the rate of just people not listening, and people would want to leave even more because restriction invites defiance. And if you just hold us down, we're just gonna go back out. And I've heard that it is a privilege, and I believe that us as a majority of people who attend every day and work very hard in the high school deserve that privilege, and which shouldn't be taken away from us because of events that have occurred that make us look bad. And as students, we deserve more representation. And a lot of us are here because, well, we found out about it through social media and we have people we talk to. But previous board meetings have discussed a lot of things that affect our future, and we have not been aware of it. So we just believe that communication should be more hand in hand. So the student opinion is in correlation with the public opinion. And decisions really shouldn't be made for us without us having a say. And thank you, because this is us having a say. Like today, a lot of people have shared, and we all believe that we deserve a chance to share. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. Next speaker, Mr. Kim.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and school board members. I'm glad I'm here today, and I see. Even I didn't pay attention. I didn't see this agenda until come today, and I'm very admired to Ms. Williams about all the report, all details, and I see lots of our administrations try to work more details with all the factual data. It was good. And also, I understand our kid, after lunchtime, they don't go back to school or they do something else. And some funny activities going on after lunch, they don't go back to school. It is happening. But when I raised my kid, he's not here anymore, I always tell my wife, we cannot be in our kid 24 hours with them. Our purpose of the educate our kid has to learn the self-control, self-learning. So I always try to leave him alone. Of course, I was watching the outside, who's meeting, who's dealing with it. And his high school time here, sometimes he want to go to with fun with the friends. Okay, what time are you going to come back? Yes, probably midnight. Okay. But sometimes he's coming back early. I didn't know why, but about years ago, my son told me, Dad, when I come back home early, you know what the mean is? What? He said, because they taking drugs. So I don't want to be there, so he come back earlier home. So I was thinking to my son, he took right path. And our education is motivating them. Of course, we can eliminating, we can controlling them up, but after school, colleges, they wasn't not educated to be self-control. It's very important to they grown up. At every stages they grown up, they need to be treated as it is. And they have to have a chance to make own decision to go which way to go. So if you have some issues from our school, the kid, I believe the counselors or school system try to notify with the parents, to work with the parents to each kids, they have a chance to, maybe they make mistakes. So they have the chance to learn through the mistake to go the right process. And I recommend to the board to consider they need to learn to their self-control. It's not eliminating or limiting them. It's not the best way of the education for our kids.
All right, Mr. Kim, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Those are all the comments I have. Any other discussion from the board on this item?
Yeah, I have one comment. The young lady said, and I concur with her, you cannot punish the majority for actions of 1.6% of the kids that misbehaved. I'm not a fan of campus closure, especially when it's being rushed. As Mr. Calderon said, let's involve all the stakeholders, the parents, the students, the teachers. We're rushing this right now. This thing happened a month ago, and all of a sudden, how can we make such an important decision within them when you don't include all the stakeholders? So take the time to talk to everyone, come up with solutions. I think I saw that they had proposed here, the plan that had been adopted earlier was if you maintain a certain GPA, you could go. If you don't, you can go. You know, and if you're a violator of truancies, then you definitely cannot go. So there's got to be a solution where we can all come together and agree. So we need more time for all the stakeholders to get together and come up with a plan that's workable. That's my comment.
I had a quick question for Mr. Sanders. Mr. Sanders, with the construction that's going to be going on, is that going to impact any type of way the campus closing, stuff like that? That's just my question. That's the concern that I have right now.
Well, I'm not sure if I understand the question. If will construction
If
affect?
closing the campus, would that affect the construction at any point?
So there will, over the next several years, there will be large sections of the campus that will be fenced off. Yeah, in order to complete the modular project A2, and then going over to the modular project A3, that area will be fenced off. When the kids come back to school this summer, or in August, the culinary arts building will be fenced off, and so there will be areas that you're used to having as part of your campus that you won't for periods of time. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. Ms. Williams, was that taken into account?
Yes, Zone A2, A3, A4 are not in the eating areas currently. When we had the construction of Varner, for example, students making way to the food cart, that was in the way. And our kids were rerouted about 3 or 4 times throughout the school year. Go through No Name, go through the tennis courts, go all the way through there, including, I think, maybe even all the way to this parking lot or gate area. So during the construction of the pool and Varner, our kids were routed many, many times. Now A2 is taking place in the student parking lot. That has no impact to the lunch area. A3, it's in the English classrooms. It has no impact to the eating area. A4 is all the way to by 98, so that has no impact to the eating areas as well.
Other comments? Discussion?
Mr. Venegas.
Yes, sir.
We have, for the last, now when I graduated from high school, we didn't have the cards, we didn't have your, the menu that you guys have. In the past, we had Sloppy Joes. What else did we have? Sloppy Joes and lasagna. We had lasagna. That was good. And that was good food. So now they do have a vast menu. You know, the cards outside, the Chinese food, they have burritos, all kinds of stuff. Can you tell me if we are going to be able to offer those same, well, I'm not gonna say they're exactly the same, but if we're gonna offer a variety of a menu, if we decide to close the campus?
Yes, sir. When I started working here, there was one line open, one line open that gave two options. So, and there was sandwiches and there was, whatever entree was offered everywhere. Out of two options that they had, 4 years ago, we started offering more variety. So every day they have 10 options. Out of those 10 options, some seem repetitive, but it's based on popularity. We have surveys out there that we've done online. We have surveys that, we take information from student comment boxes, from teachers emailing us, from students handing notes to the cafeteria ladies. All that gets back to me. And also, we track trends as far as popularity. If we offer an item, the second time, if it's a new item the second time, and is it popular or does it die down? Is it something we continue serving? So we do take all this into account when we offer new menu items. Now, if it does close, right now we're offering 10 options, 10 different options every day. I do plan to increase that to 11 or 12. Adding an additional cart, a different option with cold grab-and-go items, power-packed lunches, on the outside, so that some students that might not want to do the line to go inside, which is where we have our salad bar, where we have our fruit, our cut fruit, fresh cut fruit. A lot of those things will be offered outside, so that they don't have to go inside to get those in grab-and-go style. So right now, we do have a lot of different varieties that we offer. Now, a lot of the things that we offer inside, we try to mimic things that are offered outside. For example, if you go to KFC, you have a famous bowl. We have something similar, but we don't call it a famous bowl, but we offer something similar that meets the requirements from the federal and the state, with the whole grain requirements and the sodium levels, the fat levels, the calorie restrictions. If you go to over to Pollo Loco, they have another bowl. We offer something similar. If we have a pizza that's whole grain, that's lower sodium, that's lower fat, things that mimic stuff that are offered outside. Outside they have churritos locos. We can't, but we have jicama, we have cucumber, we have some watermelon, melon, low sodium tajin, different options. We try to copy what's offered outside, but it's free inside. So we have shake and wake, we have grab and go salads, 7 different salads offered, different days. We have wraps. Again, we're going to increase our cold options. We try to, add a vegetarian and vegan options. So we're, what we hear, when we hear feedback, we don't take away items, but we like to add additional items to give more variety, to try to listen to whatever the students' needs and wants are, and we try to implement that into our menu, because obviously we want more students to eat. We want them to feel included, that we do listen to their comments. So yes, we will be able to offer the variety that hopefully, within the guidelines.
So, one of the first responsibilities and main reasons for being here is for the student safety.
Yes, sir.
And part of their safety is that they're well fed.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the main concerns. Are we going to have enough food if the board decides to close the campus? are we going to have enough food to feed both lunches? Let me tell you why. Because all it's going to take is for one parent, if we decide to close the board, the campus, is for one parent to come to me and say, my daughter, my son did not have lunch today because they ran out of food. That's all it's gonna take.
Yes, sir, that's not gonna happen. Every day we have transport records. One of the things that we always do, we try to make sure that every single student, including the last student, has every option that the first student had. So if there's 10 options, or planning on 12, offered to the very first student that goes to the line, we want those same options offered to the last person. If we fall short for whatever reason in one of the 10 options, we make sure that we train our staff to make sure that we're making enough portions. And we're looking at historical records. We're looking at, the popularity of dishes, so that there isn't a lot of food waste, but we do expect food waste because we want to make sure everybody has all the same options at the end of for the line from the ones from the beginning.
Can we ask the students the same question?
I'm sorry.
Can we ask the students the same question to see what they respond to what you just responded?
I think this is
It's not
already
the form.
going over and
Yeah,
stuff like
so-
that. I mean,
Yeah. And
we've already
if-
taken everything into
Yes.
account, man. It's not going on deaf ears.
Just like I explained to Mr. Venegas, one of the concerns that we have is, again, we're here because of the students. Okay, nobody will have a job if it wasn't because of them. For me, the students are number one, but also their safety. That is my main concern. Even it is this close to educational goals, is their safety. A student that doesn't feel safe in school is not going to perform in the classroom. So with that said, is being fed, and that's my concern, that they're not only well fed, but that they actually like the food. Okay, so I think the board gets it. We heard what administration said, but we also hear what you guys have to say. So thank you for your comment.
Any other
Okay.
comments from the board, discussion?
I move that we table this motion and have a committee formed to carefully study the issue, which will include all the stakeholders involved.
There's a motion by Mr., the table. Again, with the.
I'll second it.
So a second by Mr. Calderon, again, the table to form the committee as Mr. Romero stated and desired. Any other comments?
How long is the process gonna take?
Well, as Ms. Williams said, if we do form a committee, it won't be implemented. Depending which way it goes, the whole year is shot already.
Let me
Okay.
respond to that, okay? I've been here since 2014, and I know this has not happened on my watch, this policy we're all talking about, a closed campus. So it's been before my time. So with that said, if it takes a year, then let it be. At least we're making the right
I
decision.
concur with you.
So I understand that, but I'm trying to make the public understand that, I mean, I know this policy has been in existence before I came here, so obviously everybody before me was also in violation of this because our campus is still, I mean, it's open. So again, Richard, I'm glad that you see it that way, and I think we needed more information to make this decision. And I mean, I can't decide it, but at least when they bring the facts before us, we can make an intelligent decision here. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Calderon, and I do understand your point, but how long is it going to take? I mean, how many meetings are we going to have? And I understand having a town hall meeting.
No, this will be at the high school level with all the stakeholders there. It's not going to be us at this point.
Mhm.
They will come with a report to us to report their recommendation. It will not be at this level. It'll be with all the stakeholders over there. And with their studies, their recommendations, whatever has to be done to come up with a conclusion.
Somebody just called it just now. They told us we are in violation of this.
No, I don't think, is that correct? We don't have an attorney here.
Yeah.
This, I believe, based on what I saw, it was approved 1980.
80 something.
So for some reason, it wasn't implemented. What was the reason it wasn't implemented? maybe it wasn't workable. Okay, so we're in violation of what? I mean, established policy, but our attorneys should have been aware. How grave is that violation? Yeah, let the attorneys, we're in violation. So there's a motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor is first, Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Calderon. Any further discussion? This is to table and do the stakeholders.
We put it back to whenever the thing's complete, whether it's in 4 months, 3 months, whenever it's completed. You cannot rush it.
Okay. So we'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
No.
Mr. Alvaro?
No.
Myself, no. All right. Other discussion by the board.
So is someone gonna make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve this agenda item.
So motion by Mr. Ciro Calderon to approve the item.
I'll go ahead and second.
The second by Mr. Alvarado.
Discussion, are you gonna impose any conditions? Example, based on what I saw, if parents authorize the students to leave, they may leave. There's academic standards. Is that gonna be allowed, or imposed? Anything above a 3.0, if those students, they're in good standing, they could do it, but the ones under 3 cannot? What are the standards gonna be?
Correct. Because if you're saying if it's a privilege or whatever, then you're gonna have to take that into account. Is it gonna be for 3.5 students, 4.0? You're still gonna need some time. How are you gonna decide that at this moment when do you really even know what it entails?
That,
I
The fights and stuff, if that's what it triggered it, and their kids from football, and they give them 4 days of suspension, and they're still out there till this day playing football?
So let's come back to the board here.
Yeah.
I think that form that they're talking about, where they're gonna list all the conditions, that can be worked out between administration and Carlos and company. I think, because we're not here to make that decision, we're here to whether approve or disapprove, but it's up to them to come up with those guidelines.
Any other comments? Hearing none? Go ahead.
And this is just something that, in the tactical world, we live by the 6 Ps. And the 6 Ps, we all live by them. And these are proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Just remember that, because if we rush into this, that's what's going to happen. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's a motion on the floor, Mr. Ciro Calderon, a second by Mr. Alvarado. We'll call for the question. All those in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes 3-2. All right. Thank you. We'll continue with our agenda item. And we're going to go back to item K1. Item K1 is a grant award agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Air Pollution Control District for Rural 310 mitigation of paving of district's warehouse facility. Let me give it a second here.
Is that
So maybe some backup on.
well, is that a recurring, or is that a new?
Let's finish it. So Mr. Vega, if you can give us some information.
Test. Okay, so good evening, everyone in attendance tonight, board members. Mr. Gonzalez, good to see you there. Everyone else, thank you for being here. So this is K1, right? So you need a little bit more backup information. So originally, this is a Rule 310 by the Imperial Irrigation District that originally they had approved $280,000 for us to do pavement improvements within the Transportation Department and right next to us, right next to our parking lot, district parking lot. So when that happened, there was a prevailing wages was not considered in their original proposals. So obviously, we had to acquire more information and new bids that took that into account. So as a result, the price of that project increased to just over $400,000. So thanks to the leadership and support of Kim Desder and the wonderful people, in that Imperial Irrigation District. Did I get it right? No. Thank you. I'm so bad with names. Everybody that knows me right now knows that I'm so bad with names and titles. But anyways, so to respond to your question, so they were gracious enough to give us the additional $180,000, and as a result, we're able to complete that project, both of those areas. So in essence, that's what it is. So you are accepting the additional $180,000 that they're giving us.
Okay, I move we approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, a second by Mr. Alvaro. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. We'll go on to item K2. This is an agreement between the Collection Unified School District and Frontline Education for absence and substitute management subscription. We do have one speaker, Ms. Bravo.
Good evening, Maria Bravo, CSCA Chapter 399, Chief Job Steward. At the previous meeting, I brought up the frontline issue that it was a negotiable item between the district and CSCA and that it had not been negotiated. Someone asked me if there has been any employees that have been disciplined, but I will share this with you. And this is coming from the high school main campus by one administrator writing up one of our employees since November 27. And I will summarize everything because it's a two-page long, and obviously that triggered another two-page rebuttal to it. Your failure to report your absences on Frontline on a timely manner on 2 occasions. On such date, you failed to report your absence on Frontline and utilize Facebook Instant Messenger. Contract language says you must notify your immediate supervisor. This employee complied. On another date, you failed to report your absence on Frontline. Now, she goes on to say that a copy of the Frontline letter that was originally emailed to that employee with an attachment along with his code. And she is directing him to report absences on a timely manner when he or she will be out due to illness or personal necessity before the start time. If you don't know this, and for those administrators sitting back here, for example, I am scheduled to go in at 8 o'clock in the morning. I have until 9 o'clock to report that I will not be in or that I will be late. You cannot write up or discipline an employee for that. That's a huge mistake. On another date, the employee even mentioned this on the evaluation about reporting to Frontline. That evaluation is null and void. And again, she goes on to say, reporting your absences and tardies on a timely manner, utilizing Frontline is her directive. Now, when he did report on Frontline and utilize his vacation because it is an option, she tells him, you cannot use this because it needs prior approval. Vacation, after it is earned, is our property right. We have every right to utilize our sick leave or personal necessity or vacation time as we see fit. And then she goes on to say, directly from the staff handbook, you have failed to do the following. CSCA has not negotiated no such handbook. It doesn't exist. And even if they brought it to our attention, it still needs to be negotiated, which was not. And then she goes on to say, it is the employee's responsibility to log on to Frontline website and log their absence. No, it's not. It is a courtesy only. And then she went on to say that it's a verbal warning, will be on a formal record, be kept in the supervisor's file for 2 years. It's an unacceptable practice. Unacceptable. And yes, of course, we had to rebuttal that. And then when requesting vacation, the employee must ask the school administrative assistant to, at the main campus, for a form to request time off. The last I checked with the CSEA contract, there is no appendixes in there on such form. Again, the district is in violation of this such form or practice. We did submit a letter to that assistant principal with a copy to the principal to cease and desist this practice, get rid of that handbook and the employee's files at the site. It's an unacceptable practice. Otherwise, we are obligated to file an unfair labor practice against the Calexico High School administrative team. Work on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so item K2. Any discussion, information wanted?
I think I had a question last time. So we're not going to force the CACA employees to follow it, right? I mean, it's not, it's, as she said, it's a negotiable item.
Well, I think it's something that we need to meet with CSEA. I think we have a difference of opinion when it comes to the contract. So we'd be glad to meet with CSEA in regards to that particular language. So, perfect. So when it comes to the front line, I don't know, Mr. Doctor, do you have the list of the districts that are using Frontline? So we did an analysis and looked at specifically which other districts in the county are using Frontline. And I'm going to say that every single district in the county has Frontline as their attendance management system that they use. El Centro Elementary, El Centro High School, Imperial, I think Brawley was the only one that we were waiting for. Heber, do you have them there? Yes. And so, we have ICOE implements it, Heber, Brawley Elementary, Imperial Unified, Central Union, El Centro Elementary, Calexico. This is actually our second year that we will be implementing it. So when it comes to this program, it's just that. It's a program. And it's a program to facilitate and do the accounting, and more importantly, to make sure that when we need substitutes, that we have them in place. Before we had SEMS, and SEMS we had it for probably 20 years in the district. And last year we decided to move over and implement Frontline. And the reason we decided to move with Frontline is because of how accessible it is, how easy it is, and because it's a program that is implemented basically countywide. So in this case, you know, I know that, like I mentioned, we have a difference of opinion, but that's something that we can discuss. But this would be catastrophic if it's not implemented. We have classrooms, you know, that we have to make sure that we have teachers there. And if we don't have a system like Frontline in place, we are going to literally have classrooms without substitutes. And talk about safety, there's no way we can put the safety of our students on the line because we don't have a program like this. And like I mentioned publicly, like I mentioned, we have a difference of opinion that I'm glad to meet with CSEA. We've analyzed the contract as well. But when it comes to the program itself, like I said, this is something that we need to have in place.
So Carlos, let me, because in Coachella we use Frontline, and I don't use it. I call my supervisor, hey, you know what, this or that, or I use, or I send an email. However, for those, for example, for teachers, I'm gonna use the example of teachers. For teachers that are gonna call in sick, well, when you do that, then the school secretary has the in front of her. In this case, my school secretary has in front of her who needed a sub, and if the sub was already called, using this program, those options. However, with that said, I do see their point. If it's not in their contract, And without seeing the contract, I cannot really, say something 100% and be 100% right. But if it's not in the contract, then I see that it needs to be negotiated. So could you get on this as soon
Oh,
as
absolutely,
possible?
and that's what I'm saying. We're always glad to meet with CSCA
Yeah,
on this.
so-
But I will tell you, we did, this is not the first time that Frontline is coming forward. It's already been in place for a year.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, we have a difference of opinion, but I'm glad to meet with CSCA. But in the past, we've met with CSCA as well. And so, I'm glad to have that conversation and follow up.
I'll move to approve with the understanding that you will meet with the CSEA and try and hammer out the issues.
Sure.
Yeah.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. I just got a quick question. I mean, you mentioned SIMS was the previous system?
SEMS.
SIMS. And did Classified use that one too?
No, not that one.
Just a certificate?
Mhm.
And then the process for Classified requesting a sub is you mentioned up here, Ms. Bravo, they call it in or? I don't have the contract actually. For if they need a sub, they really do?
Now I believe it's done to Frontline, but there's been glitches with Frontline because if the next sub who's next, or let's say an employee for extra hours, if they don't answer within time, it goes to the next person, the next person, until
Okay.
someone picks up.
So maybe some clarification on that.
And then there were some glitches with some food service staff, they were never called in for extra hours because their information in the system was wrong.
Okay, so it sounds like that needs to be discussed.
Yeah, and I think we can come to an
All right.
agreement.
Okay. Are we, any questions? All right, there was a motion by Mr. Romero to approve, a second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item K3. This is an agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and the Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District for funding for the 2019 Summer Pool Recreation Program.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any discussion? Calling for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. K4, agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and the Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District for funding for the expanded 2019 Summer Recreation Pool Program.
Move to approve.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
The funding said to be determined. What is this for, just to add more summer programs?
Right, so the K3 was because there was an amount of money that had been approved already by the Heffernan Board.
30,000.
Right, so the K4 is because there was an additional amount of funding that was approved by the Heffernan Board, and this is to extend the summer program.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so the Heffernan Memorial Board will be covering all costs for these recreation summer programs.
That is correct.
There'll not be a cost of the district.
Correct.
Okay? Just for the record. So there's a motion by Mr. Ciro Calderon, second by Mr. Lorenzo Calderon. Any other comments? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Let's move on to item K5. And this is an agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and the Remind for Mass Notification Services for the 2019-2020 school year.
I move we approve.
I think there's a motion by Mr. Romero.
Is this a recurring?
No, so we currently have Blackboard, I believe, and so
Oh, okay.
what we're doing is we're trying to streamline communication with our community. A couple of our schools have piloted Remind, and it is absolutely excellent. And so they've actually used the free trial offer.
Mhm.
Now we're actually jumping into the full program. And so we're able to send events now district-wide to our parents. We're able to send email, text, whatever the vehicle of communication. But this is definitely going to open up our communication with our parents district-wide. And again, it's replacing the Blackboard that we currently use.
So we won't get 10 phone calls anymore?
No. There'll be more streamlined.
Texts,
Yes.
I can delete, that's easy.
Right, right.
All right. All right, there was a motion by Mr. Romero, a second by Mr. Alvarado. Any other questions? Calling for this question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Mr. Ciro Calderon, was that an aye?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. This motion passes 5-0. K6, agreement renewals between Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Food Service Cooperative for fiscal year 2019-20 for food and paper products.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Cito Calderon. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K7, agreement between the Calexico Unified School District and Orange County Office of Education for school-based medical administrative activities, the small participant.
We approve.
So motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Calderon, Lencho Calderon. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K8, this is an agreement renewal between Calexico Unified School District and Asset Works LLC for inventory and management services.
We approve.
So motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. Questions?
That's me. That was Lencho.
Oh, I'm sorry. Second by Mr. Lorenzo Calderon. All right, any questions on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K9, this is a bid award and agreement to Nielsen Construction, California, Inc. for the Calexico High School Culinary Arts Classroom Modernization Project, subject to final division of State of Architect, DSA, approval.
We approve.
So motion by Mr. Romero.
Second.
I see a second by Mr. Cito Calderon. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item K10, this is an agreement renewal between the Calexico Unified School District and Arctic Air Conditioning and Heating, Inc. for HVAC emergency preventative maintenance and repair services.
Yeah, I have a comment on this
Yes, sir.
item. This item came before us on September 27, 2018, where it was not approved because of certain items that were missing. And I believe one of the issues was that they were supposed to send invitations to local vendors within Calexico. And they did send out invitations, but all vendors from outside of Calexico. To this date, none of our vendors in Calexico have received invitations to bid. Obviously, because we already have the RFP in front of us. So my question is, someone mentioned that Calexico's economy is bad. So again, I think we gave the direction to our board to invite the local vendors here, and none were invited. And nothing against the current provider right now. They've done their job, but I think it's fair that we allow the other small businesses to also bid. And the only reason that I'm bringing this up, because I asked the questions, and none of these vendors were notified or sent letters to bid. So with that said, I disagree, and this RFP was done incorrectly.
So how was this advertised?
It was through our website, and these guys are out there trying to make a living. They're not going to be checking our website. And normally it goes on the Ivy Press, it goes on the Chronicle, it goes everywhere, so they can have a fair opportunity to bid. In this case, it was on our website, and I'm being told it's still on our website. So what I'm getting at is that Calexico contractors should have been sent invitations, like the ones outside Calexico, and it was not done. 7 invitations were done or sent out, but none from Calexico.
So, can I?
Go ahead, Mr. Vega.
So, we have to understand the difference between an RFP, request for proposal, and a bid. On a typical bid, you do have to publicly advertise in the newspaper for 2 weeks and have a bid opening, have a bid walkthrough, and go through that process. That's the public contract code. When it comes to an RFP, it works a little different. We can still advertise on our website, but we're not required to advertise on local newspapers because this is a service. We don't have a fixed amount that we can go out and bid because, again, we have over nearly 800 units that need service. So it's real hard to put a number as to how many will be faulted this year or not. So that's why when it comes to a service agreement, we always go with the RFP route because it's a service that we want to have in there in case it is needed. Now, I don't know the local vendors. I don't know how big they are, but I can tell you for a district our size, we need the bigger the company, the better resources they have, the more availability they have to come and assist us in real time. To me, and I'm not from here, so to me, El Centro, Hopeville, I mean, to me, that's local. Maybe it's not. So I know that in the past, they have done surveys as to why haven't, local or, other people bid on it. And, there have been many responses, but, for what I hear is that some companies don't have the manpower to, handle a client like us. So, I mean, we can, go again through the process. I know that, summer has already started. One of my main concerns as a former director of maintenance and operations, I can tell you that one of my main concerns is the company responsive and responsible, meaning that when I call them, can they come? And for what I hear, this past year, Jeremy, correct me if I'm wrong, but have we had any issues, any problems, any complaints?
Well, let me tell you something. As stewards of public funds, Mr. Vega, I can tell you that we have replaced more than half, or probably 80% of our air conditioners based on energy saving and so forth. So if we have new air conditioners, we don't need technicians. And I find it hard to understand why we're paying $108,000 just to have someone on standby.
We're not paying $108,000.
Well, that's
it's
what
up to.
It's up to, but it's going to be paid. So with that said, I'm concerned. I'm concerned how we're paying our money. And we also have 4 HVAC staff. What are they going to do?
So as I mentioned it before, we do have 4 people. One is on paid administrative leave, I believe. The other one is on workers' comp. There's another one that I believe cannot do overtime and cannot address emergencies. So reality, we're down to 1 or 2. So air conditioning units requires a lot of maintenance, especially in weathers like this. Those filters and with the air that's blowing, they need to be replaced constantly, whether they're brand new units or old. The fact of the matter is that they need to be maintained. And like I said, we can go through the process again if that's what the board desires. But to me, this company seems to be responsive and responsible. And
well, Mr. Vega, as I said it before, it's nothing against Arctic Air. They've done their job, but I think it's fair that we also include local Calexico vendors.
And can I add something real quick? I think the last time we granted Arctic Air the year contract, I think it was directed, I think this was before you got here, Cesar. We informed the person in charge prior to you getting here that we wanted the local vendors also to be sent an invitation invite.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was relayed to you or not. That's probably miscommunication, but that was something that we had discussed as a board the last time we put this up to.
And Cesar, it's not hard. I just found like 5 companies that service Calexico.
Okay.
It's not hard.
Okay.
So what Mr. Calderon is asking is, it's not asking on you to redo all this process. It's typing a letter, sending it to the companies here in Calexico, see if they want to participate. You don't need to give them any details. Just say, hey, you know what, it's coming up.
Okay.
Just and if they don't want to apply, it's on them. But we did our part to making sure that everybody is able to participate in the bidding process. That's it. That's how Mr. Calderon is asking.
Point well taken.
So there's crucial differences between bids and RFPs and the policies and regulations of that. There's different ways we handle that. And again, looking at this one, RFP, I think it's fine. It's been advertised. That's what we have to do. We're doing this, in our organization as well with that same kind of issues here. Again, we've got maybe 5 weeks till we hit August. My concern is making sure classrooms are ready for August when teachers come back, when they start prepping their classrooms. We're going to hear it. We've heard it before when our employees are not in cool working environments. It becomes an issue. We hear it here. We've heard it before. Preventative maintenance schedule, that's up to a certain set amount. I guess the one concern I also have is this contract or amount's already been published, so other contractors are going to see that, and I don't know if that's unfair. It's been published, it's public.
Go out to bid.
That's the whole thing, it's already been published.
Yeah,
Consider
it's
the
bidders
already
gonna see
for
it.
public, yeah.
So those are, I think, legal issues we need to be concerned about as well. Again, my concern is getting the classrooms ready, making sure we follow the right process for our employees to come back in August, and our students
Everybody.
in proper learning environments and working environments.
Let me remind you, this company was just only to augment our staff, not to replace
Preventative.
them to do their job. Then in that case, why don't we just get a company to do the servicing? And, do you understand what I'm saying?
And I think that's what this is, it's preventative maintenance.
No, I
Well,
think
no.
Mr. Calderon's saying is replacing the staff with contractual
Well, I
services.
mean, if that's the case, I mean, that's what it looks like. Or you know what,
Why don't we, make an analysis. If they need more HVAC staff, then maybe that's the solution. I don't know. We have 4, and Mr. Vega just told us what's happening with them, and I understand, because, things happen, but this has been since 2014. They didn't even have a preventive maintenance schedule. Hopefully, they have one now where they're changing filters and everything every day and so forth. That way, when August comes, the work doesn't, back up.
All right.
Because they're supposed to be doing maintenance every day. So that's why I'm bringing this up. It
Yeah.
doesn't make, to pay $108,000.
Well, that's a max.
I know that's a mag, but
How much have we paid to date under the current contract? More or less?
I can answer that one.
Yes, please.
Go ahead. It was figured out to $65 last time. Now it's 55 per unit, so it's less.
No, how much have we paid
Total.
you?
Total. We calculated to be in the 80s, 88
Yeah.
for last year for what was done in terms of, maintenance, emergencies, things that needed to be done right away.
Emergency stuff,
Right.
not the daily, not the
Right.
routine stuff. Yeah, one, I believe in Mr. Calderon, what he said, I think it was done in September, or I'm not
They
sure when it was
just
done,
changed some-
where we said that we wanted to invite the local bid. They should have been notified.
Okay.
It's too late now. As Mr. Castillo said, summer's here. And we can't re-advertise because it wouldn't be fair to Arctic Air.
Just one thing, this is figured out to do the maintenance on the units only. That's what this price comes out to. Just to do all the maintenance for 800 units,
Yeah.
How many units?
almost 800.
Almost 800?
Yeah, unfortunately, we only have 2 staff, out of 4, we only have 2 staff available, correct?
So that's what it comes
And one of them cannot work overtime? So, we have our hands tied.
We only have one.
So I move that we approve this contract,
For a
but
year.
next year, for a year.
for you.
Okay.
The next year, let's take the
I promise you, I will invite every single local vendor.
Because the last time, it wasn't.
It wasn't,
included.
no.
Not
Last
not
year-
not on the 27th, everything else would, with the exception of that, so, on the minutes, so that way, next year, we don't have that issue.
So I made a motion to approve this contract.
For 1 year, right?
For 1 year.
Because it's down for 2.
The next time it's up,
Yeah.
to make sure that local vendors are invited.
Every local vendor,
Every local vendor is invited. Whether they choose to participate,
that's on
that's
them.
up to them.
Duly noted. Okay. Good.
Michael, do we need to extend? Is it a 9 or a
Oh.
10?
We can do it at 9.
Okay.
We'll do it after this.
But hold on, let's
So the
get.
motion,
There's a motion by Mr. Romero to approve this
1 year
agreement,
contract.
1-year agreement.
I'll second.
So second by Mr. Alvarado. Any other comments? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
We're approving 1 year.
1 year.
That
1
was the
year.
motion, 1 year. And for the duly noted the notes, that next year it will be sent to all vendors, Colexco, local, community. Enrich. All right. So, Mr. Ciro Calderon, was there something?
Yes, I want to extend the meeting until 10:30.
A motion by Mr. Ciro
Second.
Calderon, 10:30, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting extended. I'm sorry, Mr. Kim. Didn't give you a chance. Did you want to speak? Go ahead.
I admire Mr. Calderon about the care of the local vendors, local merchants. And as first of all, our staff didn't do the job right. And they're supposed to invite all the local vendors, regardless of their size. How are we gonna precluding they're gonna be able to handle or not? This is a maintenance. If they have job, they will have a staff. If they don't, they don't have the staff. And besides that, if you want to approve this one today, as maintenance, prevention, so we should have more staff in ourselves. When we have our staff in home, that means we're helping the community more because more job for the community. You guys likes lots of consulting, contract out, and always blaming the employees. But that means the administration blaming employees. That means administration, they don't know how to do their job. They don't know how to conduct their job to performing in right and supposed to be. I against it, any contract out from the governments instead of the hiring the staff. If we have some sudden emergency, whatever, that's a different story. But if we have a maintenance, things like that, we should have a in-home service that impacting our community, our parents' job, our kids' economy, and kids' food in the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Move on to item K11. This is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education for College and Career Readiness Initiative for 2019-2020 school year.
Yeah, we move.
So motion-
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Ciro Calderon. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K12, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and Imperial County Office of Education for data sharing services for 2019-2020 school year.
Move to approve.
So motion by Mr. Ciro Calderon,
Second.
second by Mr. Alvarado. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K13, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education to provide professional development to 4th through 5th grade teachers in mathematics.
So move.
So motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon, a second by Mr. Alvarado. Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. K14, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education to provide professional development to our academic support teachers, K-12, in mathematics.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Lencho Calderon. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item K15, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education for AmeriCorps Borderlands Program for 2019-2020 school year.
Move to. Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Ciro Calderon. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item K16, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education to provide comprehensive support and improvement, CSI, support to the staff members at Aurora High School during the 2019-20 school year.
So move.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item K17, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education for professional development for English Learner Intervention teachers, ELIT.
So move.
There's a motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon,
Second.
a second by Mr. Ciro Calderon. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Item K18, this is a memorandum of understanding between the Calexico Unified School District and the Imperial County Office of Education for professional development to newcomers, alternative teachers on Spanish, English, biliteracy skill transfer, the CBET.
So moved.
The mo-
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Lencho Calderon. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Going on to item K19, this is the Child Development Program Contract and Resolution for fiscal year 2019-20 for the state preschool program at Kindergarten's Elementary School.
So moved.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Alvarado, second by Mr. Romero. Resolution or no? It's just an action,
It's a resolution.
resolution. We'll start with Mr. Cito Calderon.
Aye.
Mr. Lencho Calderon?
Aye.
Mr. Alvarado?
Aye.
Mr. Romero?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Moving on to item K20, and this is participation in the community eligibility provision for reimbursement of meals.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. K21, 2019-2020 designation of the California Interscholastic Federation, CIF, representatives to the league and for continuing
moved.
membership agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon, second by Mr. Cito Calderon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. We'll go over to item K23. This is the quarterly report on the Williams Uniform Complaint, June 30th, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K24, approval of kindergarten state preschool for the 2018-2019 program self-evaluation.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon.
Second.
Second by Mr. Alvarado. Comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K25, this is the revised single plan for student achievement, the SPSAs for 2018-19 for the following schools: Blanche Charles Elementary, Cesar Chavez Elementary, Dual Elementary, Jefferson Elementary, Kindergartens Elementary, Mains Elementary, Rockwood Elementary, Enrique Camarena Junior High, William Moreno Junior High, Aurora, and the high school.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Alvarado,
Second.
second by Mr. Romero. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K26, single plan for student achievement, SPSA for 2019-20 for the following schools: Blanche Charles Elementary, Cesar Chavez Elementary, Dual Elementary, Jefferson Elementary, Kindergartens Elementary, Mains Elementary, Rockwood Elementary, Enrique Camarena Junior High, William Moreno Junior High, High School, or yes, sir.
My,
Give me a break here.
and this plan, what does it demonstrate? I mean,
If we can find out what the SPSA
yeah,
includes?
what is it? I mean, does it tell us the growth of the schools and so forth? Because we haven't seen or heard how these schools have done this year, so.
Montaño.
So this, Claudia Montaño, Director of State and Federal Projects, good evening. The single plan for student achievement is representative of the categorical programs that I spoke of earlier, mainly Title I, and it shows how through the school site council and the input from those stakeholders, perceive that those dollars need to be spent according to the data that is shared with them, and it's an outline of how they present to spend those dollars to improve their student achievement.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lorenzo Calderon, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. K27, this is the application of the categorical programs for continued funding in Title I, Part A, Title II, Part A, Title III, Immigrant, Title III, Limited English Proficient, Title 9, Part A, 2019-2020.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lencho Calderon, second by Mr. Alvarado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. K28 is Local Control and Accountability Plan, Federal Addendum to meet the Federal Local Education Plan requirements for 2019-2020.
So moved.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Lorenzo Calderon, second by Mr. Alvarado. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K29, notice of a completion for the Calexico High School CTE Interim Housing Modular Site Improvements Project.
So moved.
Second with a comment.
Motion by Mr. Lorenzo Calderon, second by Mr. Cito Calderon. Go ahead, Cito.
So this is for the interim.
Yeah, that's the three trailers that are behind.
Can we ask for reimbursement for what we spent on this? Remember?
No, not for that, sorry.
You just get the extra buildings.
Just for the new building.
Oh, okay.
It's for
Hey,
the
that's what they
modernization of
said.
the building.
That's what they
No,
said.
that's when the project's complete.
Mr. Vega, can you share other plans for these modulars after this project?
So the lease, we have a lease for 1 year with an option to extend. So if we need them after that, obviously, we can,
Discuss.
entertain that.
Most likely we will.
Okay?
So we're leasing, we're not buying.
Yes, we're leasing them, yes.
All right. All right.
Okay. So there was a motion by, who was it? Mr. Lorenzo Calderon, second by Mr. Ciro Calderon. Any other discussion?
No.
Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. K30 is the approval of the 2019-20 adopted budget and estimated actuals.
Move to approve.
Second.
So motion by Mr. Alvarado, Mr. Romero, second by Mr. Alvarado. And Mr. Kim, you do have a comment here. Go ahead, sir.
First things, I am very, very disappointed from our school board. Once in a month, they have a meeting. Yes, we have a lot of issues, very important. It now looks like we're talking about every single student's life going to be impacting our decisions. At least they have to have 2 meetings in the month to taking care of all the issues in more details. I've been seeing a lot of people calling the special meeting. If we have two times a month, it could be eliminating those special meeting too. I really don't know what made it, and it doesn't look good for the community. And you guys' duties to how seriously, how detailed to discuss each other. I'm very disappointed. I know this is not the agenda, and also I like to before I start and speak about, I like to ask the copy of the K22 agenda PowerPoint. You can send me the email. I put my petition. I put my email address there.
Did you want to speak on K30, Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Go ahead.
See, our school district budget $125 million in $918,358 revenue. When I was school board, 12, 13 at that time, it was about $73 million budget. We have a $53 million more budget. And I'll go back to current budget. When I'm calculating our salaries and benefit altogether, $91 million. And I believe that is coming 72% of our budget. 12, 13, school district budget was very, very conservatively, and minimum salaries, minimum employees we had. That time, still 72%. And what that means is our school district doesn't have a payroll schedule for our teachers and employees. I'm not saying we have to pay them more, but they have to have a certain level. And COLA this year, when I see the documents, COLA is 3.26%. And school district is intending to 1% because they didn't reach the agreements. My point of view, we still have, I'm closing up. We're still paying $5 million, close to $5 million, consulting and lawyer service. And I believe we have governments to have adequate salary schedule or payrolls for the sampling or standardizing the community to have a decent income to their community. So I really, really recommend the school board, when you approve it, probably you're not going to approve it anyways, but we have to eliminating our consulting, that money is supposed to go to our employees and community. And also, I believe to adequate salary schedule for our teachers and student, the school employees. They're motivated, so we might have to have a lot of money standing outside, focusing to pay better in our employees to make the better life and better job performance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kim. No other comments? All right. This is item K30. There was any other discussion?
K30?
Um,
I made the motion.
Yeah, there's a motion by Mr. Romero. K30. We're on K30. Motion by Mr. Romero. There was a second by Mr. Alvarado. This is item K30. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Item K31, approval of the Local Control and Accountability Plan, the LCAP, for the school year 2019-20.
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Cito Calderon, a second by Mr. Alvarado. Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And at this time, the board will reconvene into earlier closed session. And we'll return soon. Okay. Thank you.